Good morning, everybody, and welcome to London Station. I got my music muted. There it is. Now it's back. I'm London, and I never properly introduce myself, and we're not starting today. We're back with the Discovery Core. Discovery Core is when we take a look at products out there in the world, and I was rushing to get ready today, so I'm a little scattered. I'm probably going to have to take a break because I did not eat or get any drinks ready except for the initial coffee for the day. But it is what it is. We're here to take a look at The Last Caravan, which is a game I adore. I have not played it. I'm looking forward to playing it sometime with a group. And I just think it does a lot of really, really, really neat things. There is a backer kit link. Is it backer kit? I put it in the description. They did a second crowdfunding for an expansion to this game already. But I could not bring myself to do any coverage of that without covering the original game first. So that's what we're here doing. Hello, She-Serpent. Welcome. Good to see you. Let me know if I know you by another name, and if I don't, it's nice to meet you. Welcome in. Yes, I do have the link to... they do have pre-orders after the most recent backing for the expansion. And that is... I'm going to pull it up because we're probably going to be looking at it anyway. Westward Bound was the name of the campaign, and it had two components to it. The Lost Highway, which is an expansion that allows you to play as the aliens in this game. We'll get to that. And then Westward Bound, which is a smaller companion that lets you play even more animals. Because in the core game of The Last Caravan, I'll show you guys the page itself because it's adorable. But this got some attention and some hype early on in the game's development. Is it really even a road trip game if you don't have the Good Boy playbook? So yes, you can play as the dog in the game, and it's really kind of funny because the character sheets, the playbooks. So here's one, for example, the Stargazer. You can see that little backpack in the middle, and you probably can't see the grid there, but there's 9 slots there that you can fill up, or actually 7. You begin with 7 inventory slots. But if you look at, let me get to it. Where is it? The dog's inventory is just the 3 boxes in the middle. So it's just cute. It's cute and it's fun. But what is the game? You know, what are we even doing here? The Last Caravan is based on a Forged in the Dark tradition of games. And in the acknowledgments, it discusses, heavily being influenced by Blades in the Dark, based off of Blades in the Dark. Even I think it invokes this particular license. I was just looking at it last night. If I find it, I'll read it out loud. If not, I won't. But also mentions acknowledgments for Felix Isaacs, who wrote Wildsea, which I have the GM screen there. I don't actually have the book, but that's because when I ordered this, they sent me that GM screen, and I was like, I don't have that game, but I sure would like to get what I ordered. So I got this. This was actually a friend gave me the funds to purchase this and explore it. So LHS, Lord High Summoner, thank you. Appreciate you. Anyhow, we're going to dive in. There's a big chunk of this book, I would say over half. Is it over half? Where does the break happen? Yeah. So it's about these pages here that I'm tapping with my finger. That's the player-facing side. Everything else is the GM-facing side. And it does have quite a bit of setting to it that, as a player, you probably don't want to know. But this is... here's the other thing about this product that I love. And there's probably plenty out there that do this. Again, I only know what I know. I only know what I run into. Hey, D-Priest, how you doing? This is like an entire... I don't know, it seems weird to say this. This is an entire game. Of course it is. But this is like... How do I describe this? This is the rules, it's the mechanics, it's the setting, and it's not even a campaign, it's many campaigns all in one. We'll talk about why, but gosh, I'm so excited to finally be talking about this game. I've been wanting to talk about this game for a year, but obviously I haven't had a channel that long. So here, check out this 2-page spread. We'll get the PDF out too, so I'll show you guys things in PDF. But check out this spread of the United States. Now, the game refers to everything as North America for reasons that Ted Bushman, the author, writes in their acknowledgments in the back. But see all these zones and how they're different colors. So the different colors are like different tiers of progression. You are not freely traveling across this entire map. You are starting over here on the East Coast in one of these zones. So you don't start in every single one. You pick one, and then as you move west, you choose which connecting zone you want to go to. And that makes it so heavily replayable because each one of these zones is like its own mini setting with weird stuff going on. I have not given nearly enough context to this game yet for this to make any sense to anybody because I'm just rambling and I'm having a good time. This game's setting is about an alien invasion war that happened about 1 year and 2 months ago, roughly, and that war took about 2 years. The war lasted 2 months, not years. The war lasted 2 months. The game is set 1 year after that kind of things kind of cooled off and went kind of more Cold War, if you want to say that. Because the aliens did not just overpower humanity entirely. They heavily destroyed tons of cities and all sorts of things. But humanity was able to fight them to a standstill. And now it's this kind of, I don't know, it's this post-apocalyptic, people are trying to like keep together, but one of the main core elements of the game is that a lot of communications technology has been disrupted, so you can't easily like reach people. One of the ideas of the campaign is that potentially you are starting on the East Coast and you as a family unit are trying to travel to the West Coast to reunite with a particular family member that you've heard from, by letter or mail or whatever method is available to you, and you're trying to get to them. We'll get into it. This is clearly not my first look at the game, so that's why we're not just diving into the PDF and I'm giving you my initial thoughts. I did read through the book, and I really enjoyed it. There is a lot in the GM only section that colors the world and makes it for a very fascinating setting. So I don't know how it's handled in the newer expansion. It seems like they just, let me pull it up in their Discord, MythWorks Discord, because I want to get this wording right, wherever it may be. Yeah, so Ted said, we just dropped part 1 of Lost Highway on backer kit. Files are still processing. So backers are starting to get access to the files for the most recent backing. So I'm not sure how that's set up in the introduction of that book. If it's going to be like, hey, like this whole book is going to contain spoilers, or like only really use this if you've already played through once, or what it's going to be. Zone progression is pretty clever. I love it. It has this kind of like board game feel in a really good way that like you could start in whatever the zone they call, the Northeast, Maine, whatever. You could start there and just travel all the way along the Canadian border, and then you could have a different playthrough where you start in Florida, whatever that zone is called, and you travel all the way through the southern border and never intersect with anything, or you could crisscross. You could do all sorts of crazy stuff. It's really awesome. There was I should have linked this in the description. I'll go back and link this later, but Ted ran a mini campaign of this, and I don't think they played through all the way to the East Coast. In fact, I'm pretty sure they didn't, but it was a really good watch when I was studying and learning the game. The players made really compelling characters, and so there's some really good character drama in there. I am not much of an actual play person because, in my experience, actual plays, especially promotional actual plays, kind of gloss over the actual mechanics, and they're just trying to sell on vibe. But I love actual plays, promotional actual plays, where the actual writer of the game is the one running it, because then you're actually seeing the rules in action. And it was a good watch. I think it's maybe only 4 or 5 episodes long. So again, I will link it later. I'll go back and I'll put it in the description later, and I'll throw it in my Discord as well for anybody that wants to chase down that actual play. So very, very cool. All right, let's get into it. Pull up the PDF. I do have to say the PDF is not bookmarked, which is going to hinder me a little bit. So we're going to have to do a little bit more brute force kind of scrolling through. But we can handle it. Let me switch over here. Hopefully I have everything set up correctly. I do. Look at that. Last few things of bookkeeping. You'll see I do have a subscriber goal there in the corner. I'm not much of a goal person, but I think it's easier to hit something if you're paying attention to it. So that's my goal, to hit 100 subscribers by the end of April. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 days to get 9 people. And I think we can do it. So, great. Last Caravan, a Cars and Aliens role-playing game. We've got our credits here, of course. Not that those don't matter, but we're getting into it. So what we're going to see is Chapter 1, The Caravan, is going to talk about kind of your base rules. You can see that this is going to go for 83 pages. In fact, is that where the break happens? Let me consult. Yep, pretty much. Okay, so pretty much we're going to look at Chapter 1. And everything after this, the 2 months war, the invasion, this is GM, information, Warriors of the Worlds. This is talking about what the aliens are like, what their cultures are like, really fascinating stuff. And then the Atlas, which the GM is named the Atlas in this game. But here we have descriptions of the regions and the zones, because like I said, each of those little zones is its own kind of mini setting that your players will play through quite a little bit. There is a Forged in the Dark cycle to play here that we're going to get into. It does deviate from Forged in certain ways, in similar ways that Wildsea has. So you're going to see, just kind of a cross-pollination of ideas here. It's not just straight Blades in the Dark hack, which, I like that. I mentioned this when we interviewed Andrew Gillis last Tuesday, that I really appreciated that their game Girl by Moonlight took assumptions of Blades in the Dark, inverted them, flipped them to suit the actual setting and the experience they were looking to create. I believe The Last Caravan does a lot of that similar work, and so that's what excites me about it. Cool. So, we got some good art here. Introduction. The Last Caravan is a Cars and Aliens tabletop role-playing game. I'm going to lose my voice right in the middle of the stream. About a midwinter road trip in the wake of an alien invasion. Starting from the East Coast, you and your fellow travelers will navigate a shattered North America. You'll explore transformed landscapes, search abandoned towns, discover otherworldly technology, negotiate with newly formed factions, outrun alien pursuers, and fight for the future of your world. That's a lot. That's a pretty good bullet list. But that captures, I think, a pretty broad strokes of everything you might encounter in the game. All right, your story. Oh, this is so important. Your story is about normal people finding heroism under extraordinary pressures. It's about relationships tested by a crisis and rediscovering what matters when the world is ending. Any of you that know me and my channel, this is the kind of language that got me turned on to this game in the first place. This is what I come to role-playing for, by and large. And yeah, I can do a technical, tactical, dungeon-delving, classic role-playing experience. I can do that, but it's always going to be, I've said this the other day and I kind of liked it, those kind of games are always going to be the side action to the main action for me, which is these character deep dives and games that really explore interpersonal relations. And whether or not they mechanize that, I don't care. I'd like to know very clearly going in ahead of time if it's going to be that kind of game. We looked at Defy the Gods a couple weeks ago, PBTA game, which has a lot of mechanics about hearts, which are kind of taken from strings that are shown up in Monster Hearts and other games like that, where you as the character are influencing mechanically what other characters do or don't feel about you. That's fine as long as you know that's what you're going in for. This game is quite a bit more freeform with it. Really, it just gives you the canvas and the opportunity to explore character interpersonal relationships, and I love that because I know I'll be bringing it. If I was a player in this game. So we'll see how that works. One of the things that is interesting is you can have the caravan, which is just the loose term for the party, because they might be in multiple vehicles, they might be in one vehicle, traveling across the U.S. You can sometimes pick up NPCs and you'll be traveling with them. So I'm just reassuring myself of that, because if I run this game, which I'm likely to at some point, I want to play too. I want to have characters in the caravan. Here's the lore drop. A shattered continent that came less than 1 year ago. The war was swift and brutal. Humans and aliens bombed each other to smithereens, and now both sides are licking their wounds. Mysterious new factions rise to join the struggle of the fallen titans. In this landscape of shifting allegiances, you may have to choose sides. It's not clear-cut. There are... I don't know if this is spoilery or not, but I'll just say it this way. Not all of the aliens have the same cultural political motivations. You see that a lot in invasion stories. It's the aliens and they're this monolith and they all want this one thing. But no, they are really well represented as having different movements inside of their own situation, and it's really cool. Equally, there are some shitty humans and there are some good humans. So it's not a cut and dry us versus them thing, which I think is really, really great and really fascinating to see play out. Debris from the explosion of the aliens' mothership has clouded the atmosphere, lowering the temperature and creating the coldest winter in 1,000 years. Your travelers find themselves in a melancholy, wintry landscape, quiet until it's not. Egg-shaped alien structures, 30 stories tall, now squat, humming over the cities they crushed. So literally these pods, it might say this later, but these pods, like, they sent them down and then boom, they just crushed entire cities, like right in their central business districts, basically. And now there's a 30-story tall, like egg-shaped alien thing from which they deployed and operated out of. Xenofauna and lost invaders stalk the woods and highways. A war is brewing in the aching silence. Aliens just want to have fun. Well, yeah, just a little invasion as a treat. You are navigating the waking remnants of human and alien empires, and all you've got is a car, your fellow travelers, and the road. I love that. I just love that melancholy presentation, where it's like when everything collapses, you look around, you see what you have, and a big piece of what you have are the people around you. And, I'm going to wax poetic and say, isn't that metaphorical for when crisis happens and we're all here to support each other? So there's my there's my squish for the day. A cooperative storytelling game. The Last Caravan is a shared storytelling game like other role-playing games. One person serves as the Atlas. This is our GM. The Last Caravan's version of a game master, establishing, populating, and portraying a strange and dangerous world. The players each create a traveler, boldface, that's your character keyword, a caravan member making a dangerous journey, and as a group, they will shape the identity and goals of their caravan. That's the party name. So, Atlas, GM, traveler, player, character, caravan, party. The first 6 chapters of this book are written to the travelers. I'll mention the Atlas and might give notes for them, but when I say you in these chapters, I'm talking to the travelers. I think this is a neat little writerly call out, so I appreciate that. If you are a player, you bring your traveler to life and engage that character with the world. We're going to come back to that sentence. In this volatile post-war landscape, you'll uncover secrets about the state of the world, who and what are the aliens, what exactly happened during the 2 months war. It will take a lot of work just to survive, but even more to make a difference in the coming conflict. All right, let's rewind. We're going to fixate like we do on London Station, Discovery Corps in particular. Because this is your instruction. This doesn't look like rules text, but it is. As far as I'm concerned, the way I interact with games. This is telling you, the player, what your job is, what you are supposed to bring to the table. If you were to be hired and this were a job, this would be on your job description, and you would be measured against this. You bring your traveler to life. Now, that's vague and could mean a lot of things, but it is expected that you bring them to life, whatever that we come to say that means, and engage that character with the world. So we had a stream a couple weeks back about lone wolves and wanderers in RPGs and the challenges those present, and why players play into those archetypes, and maybe there is a healthy way to do that, maybe not, maybe you need to help them along. So this is telling you, like, no, you're supposed to be engaged with the world. So even if you are playing a character who is disengaged with the world, be disengaged in a way that is engaged. If that makes any sense whatsoever. So appreciate that. Playing the game. You can play a session in 2 to 4 hours. We might go through this quickly. Multiple sessions, sure. 6 to 12 sessions. Expectations. So you're kind of classic Powered by the Apocalypse, Forged in the Dark lifespan of this game, especially because it has a established starting and ending goal. You are starting on the East Coast. You're going to the West Coast. Once you're there, there's going to be some sort of climax, but it's pretty finite in that sense. Each session serves as its own chapter in your story. They travel across the ruins of North America, through regions. You interact, work on personal goals and pursuits, look for information about points of interest, potential equipment, and local factions. Oh, interesting. That's a good way to put it. Be a character who is disengaged. Don't be a disengaged player, I think, is the sweet spot. I don't know. It still makes me nervous, Alejandra. It still makes me nervous. Eventually, you'll discover a detour. This is capitalized because this is a mechanical part of the phase. You want to take an abandoned town you want to explore, a hostile camp you want to attack, a town leader you want to meet, or something else. Possible detours are as varied as the group's imagination, but the essential nature is that there is something for the travelers to gain and a challenge keeping them from finding it big enough that they all need to be involved. I am going to, in the book, right in front of you here, flip to one of the little zone sections, and I want to give you an example of what these detours, how they are presented, let's say, to the Atlas. And I'll start with a stage 1 because this is technically kind of a spoiler, but there are only 4 zones in stage 1, so you might encounter these naturally anyway at the beginning of your game without me spoiling anything that comes later. So, for example, let's look at, where's the map? I want to pick a particular particular one and know what I'm talking about. I lost the map. I lost it. I had it, but I lost it. I just want to know actually what I'm talking about when I talk about it. There it is. Okay. Oh yes, the publishers lined up the map right on a stitch saddle, saddle stitch, which is brilliant. I love that for the signature. Okay, so let's say the Ash Ridge, which is basically North Carolina, Virginia, kind of looks like. Okay, so what the atlas, the GM, is going to have in their back pocket for these detours is really just a bullet list of suggestions. So it's not prescriptive. It's not telling you these things happen. You meet these NPCs. You do these things. This page here, Flash, has a list of some factions with their general goals, a list of some prominent people that you can use. Of course, you make your own people if you want. Hey, Thaddeus, how's it going? And then the detours and tolls are just a bullet list. I'm going to read these to you. This is technically spoilers you're not supposed to have, but it's not going to matter. Don't worry about it. Detours and tolls of Ash Ridge. Number 1, explore a crumbling colonial estate. So it's just an idea. It's just an idea. Follow a blinking green light to an alien wreck. Cool. Retrieve a grand dame from her remote house for the Biltmore Collective. That's a faction that's listed above. Or escape via the Blue Ridge Parkway. So that's it. They're just suggestions and ideas. So these detours that are mentioned here, they are, handcrafted by the GM. There are suggestions in here, and you don't have to come up with these ideas on your own. They're given to you. However, of course, you can do whatever you want. During the detour phase, the travelers make gambits. This is your rolls. They're called gambits. Suffer consequences and finish the encounter. Whether or not they accomplish their goal after encounters, the caravan returns to the travel phase. You may suffer broader narrative consequences or follow-up encounters called tolls. For example, after harvesting food from a strange alien source, the caravan might find itself followed by a pack of alien carnivores and need to find a solution. While not technically counting as detours, tolls can challenge the travelers just as much as an adventure you deliberately chose. So, narrative consequences if things don't go your way. There are a lot of cool touchstones here, and I'm familiar with very few of them. I've seen Little Miss Sunshine. I have seen the recent, the Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning. Was it Dakota Fanning or Elle? No, it was Dakota. That movie, and I know, the history of that story. Hunt for the Wilder People I have seen. District 9 I have seen. Mad Max Road Warrior I have seen. Snowpiercer I have seen. Snowpiercer was a weird movie. The Road, for a while, was my favorite book of all time, but I was just a high schooler, so... But I really love Cormac McCarthy's, the way that he wrote. I think Cormac McCarthy's passed. Anyway, so I read that. I've not played any of these games. In fact, I don't even know what most of these are. So, I'm not... This is like with Girl by Moonlight. I came to it and I'm like, look at all this source material that I've never experienced. I'm just here for exactly this game in this moment. I'm here for the game as well. Yeah, Arrival was definitely a movie that I wanted to see. It just came out at a time where I wasn't really able to just kind of watch movies, basically. So, which book broke you? The Road? The Road is heavy. It's a heavy book. If you're talking about a different book, though, let me know. Frostpunk, I have heard of. In fact, you've probably told me about Frostpunk in calls over the years. Banner Saga, I have no idea. No idea what that is. You've played all those games. Gamer! Got the gamer girl in chat. Here we go, part 1. The caravan. Hitting the road. It's dangerous to go alone. This chapter is a step-by-step guide for starting your game with the Last Caravan. The process will lead you through caravan, traveler, and vehicle creation. Did you see the movie, Alejandro? Because, it equally hits as hard, but I prefer the book just because it was, I don't know. It's hard to watch, these horrible things. It's hard enough to read about them, so sad. Okay, the process will lead you through caravan, traveler, and vehicle creation. Yes, you get to create, and you have a separate character sheet for your car. And you're going to manage things like fuel and how broken down it is and how many storage slots it has. There are different types of vehicles with different combinations of storage and this and that, and how many seats you can have, which determines how many characters. Like, if you get to the point where you have multiple vehicles, it's like, well, yeah, we have this little coupe, and only 2 characters can ride in this, but 3 characters and the dog can ride in this, And so then it changes what kind of conversations can happen in the road trip portion. Oh, it's so cool. Guys, it's so cool. It is so cool. When you were young enough to be scarred by life for life by it, well, the youths. All right, we've got people, Atlas, and 2 to 5 travelers. A handful of 6-sided dice. So again, we're using Forged. So we're rolling D6 dice pools. You're rolling a number of D6 based on the pips that you have in a thing. We'll get to that. And you're looking for the highest result amongst that pool. Printed or digital copies of character sheets, etc. Paper writing, tokens, a map, and this book. That's interesting that it calls out having the map, which is a really good idea. If you're playing this at the table, print that map out. For sure. I love that. Use Hot Wheels as minis, or if the map's not big enough, get some old micro machines. Yeah, now we're talking. That's great. The Atlas, named for the Rand McNally Road Atlas, is a storyteller and a story enabler. Like that roadmap, they show you the numerous ways to your destination. The Atlas will also, like a modern GPS, track the dynamic state of those roads and the world. As affected by weather or conflict, their job is to manage the volatile world around the travelers, especially the sundered alien invasion force and the scattered human factions. They play all the non-player characters in the world. Oh, hold on, I gotta mute something really quick. Mute site. I'm getting pings. And they come through the microphone sometimes. All right. Let's see. Travelers are the main characters of the world. We're not going to look at all of the playbooks because that's not, we don't want to show entire games on stream ever. But we will pick one. I'll let you guys pick one. So I'm going to keep this on screen as I read it. Think about which one you want to see. Okay, I'll give you 2. We will look at the good boy. So don't worry about that. Pick one other one as well. And we'll look at those. Travelers have differing skill sets and roles we'll call imprints. There are 7 traveler imprints. Bandage, an insightful doctor and friend. Bruiser, a tough fighter and protector. Lookout, a far-sighted hunter and scout. Stargazer, a curious researcher and scientist. Talker, a charismatic negotiator and liaison. Wrench, a handy tinkerer and repair person. Innocent, an inspiring person whose sense of wonder at the world motivates others. I will tell you, the innocent... Wrench. The innocent... does have different mechanics, and they actually have a playbook that changes halfway through. But similar to the unlikely hero in Girl by Moonlight, where you're the character in Girl by Moonlight who doesn't have transcendent powers until like something unlocks them in you. You're like the friend without powers who's still tied in with the group. Here, the innocent has kind of a heal change, and I forget what it's called when they turn. It's something like. Let's see if I can find it. Well, they're called the Innocent in both ways, so it doesn't change the playbook name, but you change from an inspiring person on the cusp of change to a changed person with unlocked potential. Basically, they're the archetype in like survival stories where they're wide-eyed and untested, and then something happens that changes them and makes them kind of a little more hardened. Maybe not like, doesn't turn them into a bad person, but it just shifts them, so... You want to be a buff mechanic girl, please. I'm trying to remember what the character art for the wrench is. It might be a buff mechanic girl. I'll give you guys another second while I keep reading. Stargazer sounds awesome. You are survivors of the 2 months war. An alien threat rises from the ashes of war. A safe haven awaits on the distant coast. You need to go west. Okay, I'm going to make this a little easier. We will look at the good boy in completion. We will look at the innocent just to get a sense of how they change, and then you guys can have one of the others. Yeah, it turns them into someone narrow-eyed and tested, 100%. So we've got Wrench and Stargazer. If there's any more, let me know. Otherwise, I'll put those 2 in a poll. It's just going to let me see if you guys chat more. Last chance to throw a new one in the poll. Otherwise, we're going with these 2. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Locking it in. All right. So if you're here and can't chat, but you can click on a poll, there you go. And this little pop-out thing that I use is going to make this really hard for me to see. Well, I mean, you know. Yeah, it like doesn't show me that. Oh, there we go. I have to click on it like that. Got 1 vote for Stargazer. We might only have 1 vote for Stargazer, and that'll lock it in. That's all that's decided in advance about the travelers. Everything else, personal history, inadequacies, relationships, is up to you. So this is actually cool. Okay, that's all that's decided in advance is the playbook. The imprint. That's our name for playbook here, sorry. I do like to try as much as I can to use the language the game suggests because words carry energy, I guess is the way I would look at it. So everything else, though, is up to you. And I guess the implication here is that the rest is not decided in advance, but you're going to come to the table and figure out your characters together in session 0. This chapter will help you put your ideas into mechanics, but what's on the page is only a small part of who your traveler is. I love this. This is not like groundbreaking concept, but I do like when I see it reinforced, that you are more than what's on the page. So that's classic London station fan loving community. You guys vote for each other's thing. It's the Magi's gift, right? Well, Stargazer's in the lead with 2 votes out of 3, so we're going to go Stargazer. I'm going to click on that. I hope. Yep. Did that work? I think it worked. I don't know. Anyhow, the more depth, love, humor, and creativity you bring to the table, the more the Atlas, the rest of your caravan, and you will be able to make your character's journey unforgettable. The Last Caravan is a world-spanning story with high stakes, but you are its heart. This is neat, too, that it says that it's a world-spanning story, because there is information in the setting stuff about how, like, this did not just hit North America. Like, places got smoked all over Europe, Africa, China, everywhere, Russia. Choose a caravan type. The caravan binds your travelers together, defining relationships broadly and giving a reason to travel together. The caravan type you choose influences the kind of story you tell, so take the time to reach a consensus as a group. Choosing kin encourages the classic family road trip. Going with vets leads towards a road trip epic where you battle aliens. So, you do have a, not to the degree that, like Girl by Moonlight, you're choosing an entire series playset, which colors, like, what type of group you are. Here you are choosing an element of what brings your group together, and there are slight mechanical differences, which are cool. Kin is family, blood-related or not, with shared history and shared problems. Play as kin if you want a story about loyalty, love, and change during terrifying circumstances. Consider this the default setting. I also appreciate that. That Ted's like, look, this is what this game's about, but if you want to do a variant of it, here you go. Brains might not have studied specifically for this, but with a little study, they'll figure it out. Play as Brains if you want to nerd out over the manifold ethical and scientific complexities of an alien invasion and eventually learn the secrets of the universe, which is neat. That's really intriguing. But do you see how different these are? Like, yeah, you're going to play through the same rules and mechanics, but these are so different, and they're both, like, really delicious. These could each be their own game, right? If you took the mechanics and pulled them apart and said, you know, this is going to be a game that tells a kin story, this is going to be a game that tells a brain story, you would come up with differences between the games themselves. But as it is, you get the best of all worlds here. And vets. Vets have already seen war, but this time no cavalry is coming to save the day. Play as vets if you want to be put to the test and fight for the future alongside your brothers and sisters in arms. Here you go. Travelers in a vet's caravan gain a protective item. 1 armor, size 2 out of 5 uses. Size 2, sorry. This is going to take me a while to parse because I didn't really study the items when I read through it the first time. 1 armor of size 2 with 5 uses. Things have uses and they degrade in the game so that you don't just have equipment that sticks around forever. Remember that The Last Caravan is about normal people finding heroism under extraordinary pressures. The game runs on intimate relationships. Love it! A Brains caravan might be a group of graduate students caught out on a field project when the aliens invaded. A vet's caravan might consist of a father who served in Vietnam, his daughter who served in Iraq, and her wife who she met in the service, all of whom have been civilians for years. The members of your caravan are skilled and capable, but they aren't heroes yet. Important distinction. Don't bring your, superhero to the table. Also, queer representation. Thank you for that. All right, choose a caravan hook. Caravans all over the country have 2 reasons to start heading west. Number 1, news has reached the east of a bastion of humanity called the Republic of St. Francis, which is basically built up in the ruins of San Francisco. So you know. Second, alien powers are ascendant in the east, and they are becoming more dangerous. So you're either running to something or you're running away from something. So you choose that as a group with the Atlas's oversight. Each caravan should start with its own unique or personal reason your characters are going on their journey. As a group, decide on a caravan hook. Here are some suggestions. So we will just zoom past these because we know broadly what these are, but kin hooks should occur at a significant family place, be connected to a major family figure, and involve a strange connection to the aliens. This is important too, because yeah, you could just have a family thing, but the game is saying like no, like also make something weird about it, make something compelling about it. Before you dive into a campaign, you want to make a few secret decisions about the world and how you're going to involve the characters in it. You'll find some guidance for that in Chapter 8. We won't, but you would if you had the book. Which, by the way, the link that goes to the backer kit for the pre-order for the new release also has the core book in there. And also, I'm pretty sure, let's look at it. Let's look at it right now. I'm pretty sure they have this cool little like slipcase thing that they did. Yeah, there's a satchel box. So even if you already have the the core book, you can get the new stuff with a little satchel box that keeps it all together. So that's neat. That is neat if you're into that kind of thing. All right. Brain hooks should connect to your studies and involve an alien mystery. Again, so this is telling you, like, hey, like, make it alien related. This is not just a interpersonal thing. Vet hooks should be connected to your military service and involve a violent alien threat. Okay, actually, hold on. This is important. Here we go. In kin, you have a strange connection to the aliens. That's tone setting. In brains, you have an alien mystery, right? So there's something to be solved, which is the hook that the brains need. And in the vets, the hook is a violent alien threat because you need something to fight. So this is reinforcing what the paragraphs before were already telling you to do, but this is giving it to you in a more digestible check-the-box thing. Make sure it does this, because if it doesn't, you're going to have to put work in to make this thing go the way it's supposed to go. So get it right from the start, and you'll be in a better place. After you've chosen your hook, feel free to work out more details together. If you choose a maternal figure who left a mysterious message, and this is what they did, Ted did for the playthrough they did, ask, what is this maternal figure like? Where did she leave the message? A gun-toting, no-nonsense grandma creates quite a different story than a reserved scientist grandma who studies crustaceans. Relevant. One of the groups of aliens that have come are kind of crab-like. They're really cool. They have really cool design, actually. In fact, I'm going to put one of these guys on screen. I know I saw them in the... Again, this PDF isn't bookmarked, unfortunately. But, yeah, I want to see what page this guy's on. And I want to go to him because he's cool. Look at that guy. And there's, normal crab for scale. And he's got, like, tech, like, built into him and everything. So cool. So cool. And like I said in the beginning, sorry if this is a spoiler, but there are good guys of these. There are not good guys of these. They have culture. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see. Get back to where we were. Here we go. Players should now claim traveler imprints. Generally, it's better to avoid multiple players choosing the same imprint. That way, every character has an archetype of their own. Here are the imprints you can choose from. We'll skip the... No, we won't skip these because we're not going to do the playbooks. A bandage can tend wounds both emotional and physical. Play a bandage if you want to understand and help people. So, by the way, there is like mechanical, like there is a stress kind of equivalent. I forget exactly what it's called, but we'll run into it. Bruisers can take and deal out hits without getting knocked down. Play a bruiser if you want to fight your way out of trouble. A good lookout can find a route to safety as easily as they find an enemy target in their crosshairs. Play a lookout if you want to clear the way. Stargazer, who we're going to look at. Stargazers have devoted themselves to the sciences and the solving of hard problems. Play a Stargazer if you want to learn about the aliens and engage with their technology. Talker, this is the London playbook. Talkers know how to negotiate and get people to help them. Play a talker if you want to solve problems with words. Boy, do I. Boy, do I. Wrench. People turn to a wrench when they need something fixed, rewired, understood, or salvaged. Play a wrench if you want to make things work. Innocent. Innocents can't do much, but they mean a lot to others, and they have limitless potential. Play an innocent if you want to unite others and become someone during this journey. And the good boy, spelled B-O-I, because it's got to be. Good boys are the loyal canine friends of the travelers, helping out with their undeniable charm and senses of smell. Play a good boy if you want to run fast and get pats. I like that. There are people who probably would read a rulebook like this and they'd be like, oh, that kind of grates me. That takes me out of the game because they're just trying to like be silly and, talk about head pats and stuff. It's like, you know what? Maybe just relax. Maybe just relax. All right. You can go about this process in lots of ways. Players with a strong starting idea might be able to help others think of theirs. This is great, too. This is a great sentence. This is one... There's so many things in role-playing games that are taken for granted or understood. And again, some people chafe against like, oh, here we go, another game rule book that's telling me like how to create a party. But you know what? Actually, sentences like these are really important. Players with a strong starting idea might be able to help players think of theirs. If that hasn't occurred to somebody, having the sentence in there is going to reinforce them and create a more cohesive table. And I like warm, fuzzy things. So there you go. Yup. Reflavored as a creature of your choice, probably, right, D Priest? Or maybe, maybe not. Maybe just the straight up doggo. But that expansion, I said, it gives you different archetypes of dog. And I think one of them is even like kind of a like, I don't know the politically correct word. A little spazzed out little guy who maybe even got into some alien technology, I think, is one of the ones you can do. And then I think there's cats in there as well. So I don't know. As players fill out their traveler, imprints, inadequacies, and gambit strengths might help players generate more ideas. Yeah, so there are mechanics that can help you with your character concept. We've got example at the table, creating characters, so that's always good. This step is one of the most important, so take your time. Use this moment to talk about your characters, their relationships with each other, and a bit of history. Most folks still traveling after the 2 months war are living in countrysides and rural towns. Think about what connection your characters might have to the area where you begin and how that affects their relationships. Yeah, that's exactly it. It avoids a lot of common stagnation pitfalls. If you read this and study it, it will tell you like what to do if you're stuck. Like, hey, if there isn't another player who's got the things you need to help you, then keep forging ahead because some of the mechanical considerations will come along as well. Yup. How can you create meaningful relationships that make for powerful stories? One simple strategy is for every player to decide on a good memory and a bad memory their character has about each other traveler. This is great, actually, too. I remember this kind of came up, you guys might recall when we did the pumpkin spice witch creation questionnaire. And wasn't it something about like one of the questions was about how your power manifested, and then it was like, describe a way that your power manifested in a good way and describe a way that it manifested in a bad way. Doesn't let you off the hook, and it makes you give some context and color to the fact that things aren't always all one thing. Not everything is all good or all bad, and there's degrees and a spectrum to these things. So I like how it's doing that similar exercise, but with regard to the relationships you have with the other travelers, because you're trying to. This is not a how do I put this? This game does not push you into a like, hey, we're all happy, cozy family getting along. This game actually kind of nudges you towards like we're estranged family in some cases, or we've got issues like all families have, and we're gonna explore them. What's the Festivus thing? I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're gonna hear about them. Here are some principles. Ooh, principles. We love principles. Number 1, think about your inadequacies. I'll go over those on page 23. So this is neat too. So there's an authorial style here that Ted's put in where he is talking to you, the reader, which is kind of cozy. I like that. If you have regret or blame, how could those relate to your fellow travelers? What might cause you to be detached or reckless? Number 2, embrace differences and disagreements. Embrace differences and disagreements. Embrace differences and disagreements. I read it 3 times. What if your characters come from entirely different walks of life? What if they're at odds politically? What if they have an old grudge? I'll give a little anecdote from the actual play that Ted ran. One of the characters was like this. Was she like an NPR correspondent? I don't know. She was like this radio news reporting figure, and so she was constantly pulled to like find the story, right, and like report to the public, and that was her service to the world. And she had been estranged from her daughter, and it was a whole thing. And there was a moment where the player of this character used one of her inadequacies. I don't remember which one, but there was a fight, like a verbal fight exchange happening between some of these people in the caravan. One of them was like a conspiracy figure, like older uncle type. I don't remember if they were uncle, but anyway, there's this fight going on, and she's like, so I'm going to invoke my inadequacy, and I'm going to have my character start voice recording this fight because she wants to like capture like the human story behind what's been going on, after the invasion and what it's doing to families. And everybody else just kind of stops and looks at her, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's just like, I'm just documenting, like, these are the human stories that are coming out of this. And they're like, put the fucking recording away. And it was a beautiful scene. All of the players involved in that. Oh, I got chills just thinking about it. So that's the kind of things that can come out of these stories. Really, really cool. And invoking we'll get to this, but invoking your inadequacies gives you a heroism point, which is kind of like your hero points or reroll mechanics. I forget all the things you can use it for, but we'll get to it because, we're not in a rush. The past is present. Even during the end of the world, it matters if your best friend didn't come to your wedding. Man. Harsh words said by a parent to a child still sting, yeah. Infidelity, betrayal, past romance. Difficult experiences in the past can lead to beautiful chances for fighting and reconciliation down the line. So you see where this game is trying to tell you, do not start off with everything perfect. Embrace the challenges and let this story, this road trip, this alien war be the canvas upon which you paint how your interactions as characters and as people shift and change. Love it. Love it. That's actually what drew me to the game in the first place. There was one little stinger line from their ad copy when they were releasing the game, and it was something about playing into the emotional things between characters. Great. Remain open to change. Starting with an opinionated and difficult traveler is good. Okay, so this can be hard sometimes. So it gets it right out in the open. Make sure everybody at the table knows this. If somebody chooses to do this, the game has literally told them to. And you still need to be sensitive to it. Use all the safety tools that are necessary. Have above-the-table communication. Have check-ins after each session, hey, did I go too hard on your character in this? What do you want to see? Always have those conversations. But this game is literally telling you, be opinionated. Have something to bounce off of. So, the petty bitch potential is so good. It sure is. But you can't do that if you're playing a dog, though. Can you? You could probably figure it out. Keeping them the same throughout a life-changing odyssey is not good. This is the counterpoint to this. Find moments for them to realize things about themselves and the world. A crisis opens people to change. Your narrative will be more powerful for it. Imagine your prologue together. Each traveler should fill in one heroism on your sheet or take a heroism token from the pool. Optionally, you may then choose as a group to tell a story to the other travelers about how you gained this heroism during the 2 months war. Cool. Reference the heroism triggers on their traveler imprints to find the list of broad narrative beats, which we'll see, and then you can explain what your traveler did before their caravan left on this journey. So similar to, a principle of Forged in the Dark, Blades in the Dark at large is jump to the action. The engagement role is this mechanical thing to say, okay, we're going to see how you got into the actual interesting part of this situation. We're going to kind of quickly get a sense for that, and we are going to use a mechanical role for it so you don't feel like you're powerless in deciding how that went by preparing for it. Similar to Girl by Moonlight, which takes that concept and expands it even further, and it says we start in season 2. Because that has a lot of the magical girl anime trappings of, you're going to have everybody introduces themselves to each other. They all find they have powers. They slowly build up the party. They're like, okay, no, let's skip to this. Let's get to the action, and we'll backfill in when necessary these other details. This is doing a similar thing. We're not going to play through the 2 months war. It's not a game about the 2 months war. It's a game about the aftermath. So, but you tie that context in so you're not just people just dropped into a video game. Create your first vehicle. Unless you have a larger group of players, you start with a single vehicle, a compact. It can seat up to 5 people, and it starts with 0 wear at full health. Decide as a group who this car belongs to, how you got it, and what it looks like. I think they had a crappy, old, Camry in that actual play because Camry lives forever. I'll cover the full rules for vehicles in Chapter 4. Go through the rest of the inspection for this vehicle as explained there, including generating 3 cons. You begin with 2 fuel and 2 supply. We'll get context for these later on. Once the caravan and travelers are ready to start, the Atlas introduces the players to the world and begins your first scene. A prologue might sound like this. Should we read it? Let's read it. Why not? It's cold. The harshest winter in 200 years has fallen across North America. Ice covers the highways that haven't been bombed to sharp gravel. The invasion left the world in tatters. No one won. Rumors are spreading that a bastion of humanity in the West, the Republic of St. Francis, is holding its own. In the deep stillness of the East, a hum is growing, the sounds of an alien force rising out of ruin. At night, you hear noises in the distance, musical rumblings, sirens in many tones. Through the falling snow, you can sometimes see the vast silhouettes of alien structures on the horizon. After 6 months of only intermittent activity, things are starting to happen. You're on the road now, one car amongst thousands pushing forward. Each car, each caravan has its own goals, its own hopes. Only you know the destination you have in mind. It's on the morning of a frigid, clear day that you arrive at your first destination. Nice. There's she might be a buff mechanic girl, Alejandra, if you're watching the VOD later. She might be. This is our Stargazer. This is our Talker. This is our Bandage. That's our Good Boy. The Innocent. The Bruiser, I believe it's called. And the Lookout. So, great character art. And now we're into character stuff. Travelers. This is a fun quote. Well, technically it's Mom's car, and Mom would want us to all go together. Many kinds of travelers are crossing the continent after the 2 months war. The game divides these into archetypes called imprints with different strengths. Through the character creation process, you'll shape a unique traveler to suit your playstyle. Let's get started. Choose an imprint. We kind of know about this. Let's quickly go over it. Travelers in the Last Caravan all share the same general pool of gambits in bold-face mechanics. The kinds of actions anyone trying to survive the apocalypse might do in a moment of tension. Travelers all have at least enough basic knowledge to try to repair a damaged car, trick the leader of a fortified settlement, or sneak around an area that might be under surveillance. So the notion here is that whether or not you have rankings in something, I believe you can attempt them. Usually in Fortune in the Dark, that means rather than rolling a die for each dot that you have in that thing, if you don't have any, you roll 2d6 and you take the lesser result. So it is pretty unforgiving, but you could always roll double sixes. You always could. Da 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 da. That quote, story in a sentence, yeah. Everyone's got a past. So here you go. You know, I think actually, I think these are all actually characters that were in that actual play. Yeah, they are. So this is cool because they did incorporate some of that actual play into like their examples of play because it was such a great actual play. Loving the setup this game is doing. I tell you what, it's really good, and there's so much richness to the whole alien-human conflict that you won't see unless you want to GM it. It's wild. A few world details might influence your decision. Invaders bombed all the big cities on the East Coast. Some were invaded with colony pods, enormous egg-shaped vessels, etc., etc. Many survivors are people who lived outside the cities. Yeah. I mean, it brushes over. It's not brushing over this. But it is easy to just kind of like skip to the now and be like, okay, here's the situation now, and we're going to be traveling across the U.S. And that's true. But also when it's like, oh yeah, entire cities were wiped out. I think it's worth taking a moment to pause and go back and think about, what we talked about in our. I always nod my head up in this direction. It's where I have a calendar where I write down all the streams we've done in the past. That's why I'm always referencing like up here off screen. Anyway, our stream on violence and RPGs is that it's probably worth, I think, for your own immersion into this game, this setting, this world, is to consider how many millions of people were killed. Yeah, anyway, just something to consider. It's heavy. It's heavy stuff. Assign Gambit strength. There are 11 actions in the game called Gambits. I think Blades has 12. Girl by Moonlight has 9, so 11. You're right in the middle there. Any uncertain challenge you attempt falls under one of these categories. So you are not meant to look outside of these for other things. You are meant to just use the 11 you're given. Your imprint begins with 4 Gambit dots already filled. You get to add 4 more, so you have 8 total. At the start of the game, one Gambit may have 3 strength. The rest cannot have a strength higher than 2 during character creation. Let me make sure I parse that correctly. Basically, you can only push one thing to 3. That's what it's saying. Since you can't be good at everything, you'll need to rely on other players, often in order to accomplish tasks you can't. Wow. This is exactly the same concept that Girl by Moonlight pushes, which is that this is a game about relying on other people. So no, you're not going to be good at as many things as you wish that you could be good at. This game is doing the same thing. So, even so, I think you end up with way more here than you did in Girl by Moonlight. Of course, you have to spread it across 3 more. So here are our gambits, and they are not. You can tell by these they're tied to like phrases almost, rather than just your classic like approaches or skills or stats, right? Be the boss is a gambit, which is so fun. Do science. I love that. Drive a car. Fight under pressure. Harmonize with alien stuff. Lie and trick. Rig and repair stuff. Search and survey. Sneak around. Take aim. Or talk it out. Cool. They're very cool. They're very evocative. I like them. I like them. The Good Boy and Innocent imprints have adjusted gambit lists that reflect the difference in how they navigate the journey. If a situation specifies a gambit not listed on their imprint, decide with the atlas if you can attempt it with one of your unique gambits. Let me pull those up really quick, because I'll just tell you what they are. And again, I would be jumping through the bookmarks if we had them, but we just don't. So the Good Boy has bare your teeth, chase and catch, dig up and drag, make friends, sniff out are the unique ones. And then there are others, of the standard list that are missing. So that's fun. So you could play a Good Boy in a couple different ways. Like, are you like the junkyard pit bull and you put all your things into bare your teeth? The Innocent has distract and impair. They have... Oh, that's the only unique one. How many do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're missing quite a few when they start off. And then when they have their story change, they gain the full standard list. So the one thing that they have that's unique is they have distract and impair, and they are missing a couple other ones when they start out. That's so cool. We'll get to it. And I'll tell you what I just thought is so cool. Special abilities are imprint specific and are listed on your character sheet. I just read that, didn't I? No, I didn't. One for each traveler. You have the option to pick a special ability from... Once for each traveler, you have the option to pick a special ability from another imprint. Oh. Interesting. So only once, like you can't take more than one ever. But when you choose a special ability, you can choose any of yours, and you can one time choose one from some other imprint. Very cool. Choose your inadequacy. Your traveler is capable, but they have self-doubts and weaknesses. Yours is a dark reality that could ruin everything if you don't keep it under control. Decide on one of the inadequacies from the list below. Regret. You're haunted by something that you did or something you should have done. Recklessness. Sometimes you ignore your safety and that of others in pursuit of your goals. Fear. If you think too much about it, you get overwhelmed. Detachment. Sometimes the only way to cope is to realize that nothing matters. And blame. There's someone responsible for all the bad that's happened to you. I don't know if I'd ever be able to play this one. I just don't want to be in that space. Don't want to be in that headspace. Tell the Atlas about your inadequacy, some of the things that trigger it, and how your character might behave when acting on their inadequacy. As the game progresses, you'll be encouraged to roleplay these moments. When your inadequacy causes trouble, you gain heroism. So it's not just when you invoke it. You can't completely control it, but you're supposed to do it in such a way that actually makes things worse. Which is important for everybody at the table to know and understand and come to agreement about. That this game is asking you to do these disruptive things in order to find moments of tension so that you can have moments of release and catharsis on the other side. So the group needs to know this, because mechanically it's saying, I'm going to reward you for this behavior, which means you are being told to do it. So you need to have good communication with your table. You really do. Write any individuals you associate with your inadequacy. Oh, rough. You might write, I regret leaving Ava behind, or I blame my ex-husband. I think Ava was the name of the daughter that was estranged. I might be wrong. I think they really did incorporate a lot of that actual play into this game, which is cool. Into the final text, I mean. Record your name and appearance. Feel free to choose any name or nickname you'd like. North America has people from every culture and origin, and regardless of culture, some people name their children truly strange things. A good name should serve as a reflection of your origin itself. As to appearance, a few simple identifiers usually do the trick. The list below has some ideas. Yeah, so just kind of helpful little, could be random tables almost, but. And we've got, different identifiers that cover a spectrum of genders. We've got NB. We have woman, girl, and femme listed as separate ideas, which you got to appreciate that. Boy, man, mask didn't make the list. That's funny. But it's fine. Gear, ideas of things you might have. Starting inventory and gear. On a journey across the continent, you're only as good as the stuff in your pack. So this game does have inventory and items. Not usually a thing I'm into. And one of the things I'm most apprehensive about when I run this, because I just run games that don't really do or deal with gear very much. But the stuff that you get when we get to the gear section, if it's even in the section we're going to read, is pretty cool, because there's alien stuff you can pick up along the way, and it's neat. It's very neat. Travelers in the Last Caravan have a personal inventory of weapons and other important tools. We'll cover the exact rules later, but at character creation, you decide what you have. Each traveler can have 2 items or 3 inventory space, whichever comes first. So the little graphic of like the little backpack, with the 7 slots, you have to actually make like contiguous kind of Tetris piece your stuff together if they take up multiple slots. So a little mini game there, which is kind of cool. Not sure how frequently it makes you make hard choices, but the suggested starting inventory is a good place to start. Otherwise, you and the Atlas can fill in the details later. Imprints have special abilities on the next few pages. Innocent Good Boy listed last because they're different. And there's a recommended default special ability for players unfamiliar with the game, so that's handy. You'll see the abbreviation +1D on many abilities. This indicates that you roll an additional D6 on the associated roll. Yep. You'll learn this in other gameplay in Chapter 3. Special abilities can be gained throughout the game. All right. Oh, this mention here where it says when you advance, capital A, on the way to a new region, there is like a end of phase thing. When you move from one region on the map to another, you basically level up, if you want to call it that, and you get to make a choice of like, am I going to increase any of my what are they called? Attributes, skills? I should have paid more attention. Or choose a new ability, or so on and so forth. Very common game stuff. Okay, so we're not looking at the bandage, but great art for the character there. And these are just 2-page spreads for the entire playbooks, which is cool. We're not going to look at Bruiser or Lookout. I could even use the page down key if I'm getting spicy. Actually, that's not working at all. Hold on. Sorry for the scrolling. Stargazer. That's what we're looking at today. A curious researcher and scientist. You believed knowledge was salvation, but then literal aliens invaded the planet and everything's been turned upside down. Now you are determined to use your expertise to help the people you love and find the truth. So they're holding a alien thing. Got a lanyard. Got to have a lanyard. Oh, and a little power source in the pocket too. Cool. Cool. As a stargazer, you gain heroism when you experiment with alien technology you don't fully understand, analyze a situation through a scientific lens, or teach another traveler about something complicated. So you do need to pay attention to this as you're playing, because heroism is going to be gained like anytime they're doing the thing from their list. And savvy players are going to look at this and they're going to say, okay, I'm going to actively look for opportunities to do these things to get more heroism points, because that's going to help us survive. So you do need to be mindful of this if you are the Atlas. Know what's on the list of things that your players can earn heroism for. Help them look out for them. So that's great. Starting gambits here, 2 points in do science, 1 point in harmonize with alien stuff, 1 point in rig and repair stuff. And here's your default special ability. Gosh, I hope this works. You may destroy an alien item to do one of the following: create an intense gravitational anomaly nearby, or create a blinding burst of light and sound that does 1 harm to all in earshot. An ear for the beyond. You may harmonize with alien stuff, which is the ability, right? Gambits, that's what they're called. To perceive the surface thoughts, feelings, and memories of an alien speaker. On a critical success, you perceive a complete memory and its context. Okay, that's a lot of world building to throw into one ability. So now we have this human character who has an ear for the beyond. They can use the gambit harmonize with alien stuff, which means they're using their knowledge and what they're paying attention to in this harmonization. If you haven't picked it up, there's a lot about resonance and music and like this is a communication thing for these aliens. If you haven't picked that up yet, at least one of the species of aliens. So they are basically learning how to listen to and hear this alien language, even if they don't fully understand it. On a critical success, though, you perceive a complete memory in its context, which means that these aliens are communicating and they are broadcasting things like complete memories. Isn't that cool? It's really cool what you can pull out of rules text that tell you about setting if you're paying close attention. Collector. Alien items take up 1 less inventory size in your backpack to a minimum of 1. So that's cool. They can be specifically like, hey, we got a new alien item. Put it in their backpack, not mine. I don't want it to explode. Put it in there. Crafting knowledge. Choose a type of knowledge, alien, military, or programming. You can now craft items with this tag. So there are tags on the equipment lists. You may take this ability again and choose a different type. Expertise. Select a narrow area of scientific expertise such as temperate climb horticulture. I know that word, but I don't know enough to know what it means. You automatically succeed at gambits involving this expertise. Add a space to your heroism track. Oh, that's neat. In the zone. Once during a detour, when you take 2 harm or less while working on a scientific task, you can instead ignore it. That's really cool. I really like that. That's so cool. They're just like I'm busy. Like, don't bother me with this little harm. Like, I'm locked in. This would be called locked in if it were if it were written today. All right, so there is our Stargazer. Now I got to pull up the character sheets for you guys so you can see how this all looks. So what page is this? 190. We'll go to 193 and then we'll page ahead a little bit. 93. Don't look at any of that stuff. They are printed in, so I'll flip them here in a second. Is this it? Stargazer? No, look out. There we are. How do you do this in Adobe again? I don't want a free trial of Adobe Pro. Can I not rotate without Adobe Pro? You've got to be kidding me. Okay, I can. What a crazy program. All right. So here's what the character sheet looks like. You've got your fields for name, age, background, look, and adequacy. At the top, you have your kind of like guiding principles, a curious researcher and scientist. Your gambits listed here with your dots. So again, you're going to put 4 more in here. Nothing can exceed 3. Nothing can exceed 3, and also only one thing can be as high as 3. Here's your advancements. Oh, are advancements different for everybody? No, they're just here so that they're easy for you to see. Okay, so the advance. When you enter a new region, choose 1. Add a dot to 1 gambit. Gain a special ability from your imprint, over here on the right, in the blue. Or clear your harm track. Now, we haven't gotten to all of this, but I agree with Derek when he does reviews of games and looks at character sheets, that the character sheet tells you, it can teach you a lot about the game. So we have our inventory slots here. You write down the things here, and I guess you just mark off the boxes that are filled. You have a heroism with this extra little dotted thing here. Does everybody have that? Oh, they do. So maybe everybody has an ability that gives them an extra heroism on the track, which would be a good parallel design, I think. This tells you what you can use heroism to do. Find a useful item. So that's basically like saying, I've decided I have this moment, this item in the moment. Actually, I shouldn't say that, because I think actually this is in the Atlas's hands. They will give you something that is useful, so you don't have to think of the thing yourself. They will give you whatever you need. Gain +1d to any gambit roll, or increase harm. Limit 2 per gambit roll. So you can spend multiple, I guess. So if you're trying to fight something and you just really want to take it out, you can use heroism for that. Now, this playbook, we just read how you gain heroism, experiment with alien tech, analyze through a scientific lens, teach a traveler about something complicated. Also, by default, we haven't gotten to this yet, but everybody will gain heroism if you aid a faction or if you make things worse because of your inadequacy. So everything's captured right here, which is great. Little place to track some clocks if you need them. And the only other thing that... Okay, you have a write-in space here. That's if you take a ability from a different playbook. So you can write that in here. And the only other thing that we haven't actually seen in the rules yet is how harm is handled. And check this out. It's kind of like a dial, right? Like an odometer. But you take harm and you're stable. And then if you cross this turning point, you go into worsening. And there's mechanics for that. This is kind of your stress track, but it's not. It's kind of harm, but it's kind of not. And that's where I was saying that, yeah, this is based on Blades in the Dark, but it does its own things. And so we'll get into what that stable and worsening and everything looks like. I should have paid more attention to what page we were on when we left. And I also got to rotate the PDF again. All right. Because we're going to go look at the Innocent. Almost there. Bear with me. There we go. So the innocent, an inspiring person on the cusp of change. And we're not reading the whole thing. Okay, here we go. This imprint uses the distract and impair gambit as a replacement for be the boss, fight under pressure, and take aim. So they just can't do those things. In addition to a shortened harm track, the innocent has a hard truth track. This is where it gets so cool. When this track is filled, the innocent's imprint transforms into a mature traveler. And let's see where it is. All right, let's look at their heroism. You remind a fellow traveler of their values and goals. Do something no one knew you were capable of, or put yourself at risk to help others. That's where it's very much like the Unlikely Hero playbook in Girl by Moonlight. Starting gambits, 1 point in quite a few things. But where is it here that explains hard truths? All right, so here's the default. Once per region, take 2 hard truths and choose another traveler. For the rest of this encounter, that traveler adds 1 to the result of 1 die each time they make a gambit roll. Wow. Take 2 hard truths, and for the rest of this encounter, which is, I think, the entire region. No, it's going to be just encounter-based. Okay, so that's not super crazy powerful. But they add 1 to the results of 1 die each time they make a gambit roll. I believe there is a consequence for 1s that show up in the pool, so this might be a way to negate a consequence from a 1, and it also could be the difference between pushing a 5 into a 6 or a 3 into a 4. Every time they make a gambit roll, though. So basically, you're just like puffing them up. That's really awesome. But like I said, we're not going to do the whole playbook. Excuse me. And I might have to go back here, sorry, because I didn't get what I needed to get out of that to show you guys. Here we go. So here's the hard truth track. And then it says, any traveler may spend 2 heroism at any time to remove 1 hard truth from the innocent's track. When the hard truth track is filled, transform into the innocent, a changed person with unlocked potential, which is different than this playbook. And let's take a look. Okay, so yeah, it changes how you gain heroism. Show a traveler you're not the person you used to be. Live your new truth or face danger alone. This is a typo. It should be alone. And then they get into the normal harm track stuff. So, but they have to like play through this more innocent character first. But the special abilities change too. Look at this one. Had to be done. Once per encounter, when you kill an enemy, you may take 2 harm to give every other traveler 1 heroism. So yeah, that's a wild departure from the like innocent, wide-eyed, like whatever. Now they're just like, had to do it. I've learned, like, I've changed. It's wild. So cool. So cool. Oh, look at that. I just guessed the right page to go to our next thing. Here's the good boy. A loyal friend and sniffer. Your people need you. You can bark to warn them and smell the things they can't see. The world is getting dangerous, but that might mean new friends. And where there are friends, there are treats. The good boy replaces the harm track with a fear track, which when filled causes the good boy to flee permanently. That's rough. Travelers with this imprint have a reduced backpack size, misbehaviors instead of inadequacies, and can't use most items that require hands. This imprint uses the following unique gambits in addition to several of the standard ones: bare your teeth, chase and catch, dig up and drag, make friends, and sniff out. And he's got his paw on something. As a good boy, you gain heroism when you go on the hunt for something or someone, inform your people about something they can't smell or see. Oh, so cool. Or cuddle with a human. That's so good. Oh, man. I got to refill my heroism points, so I'm going to cuddle with you now. Special abilities, human's best friend. Choose 1 traveler for the rest of the campaign. Once per encounter, you can either add 1 die to one of their gambit rolls without spending heroism, or cancel up to 2 harm they would take and take that much fear instead. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Born Hunter, you may spend a heroism to do one of the following: leap higher and farther than should be reasonably possible, track a creature you have already smelled over a distance of up to 50 miles. Cool and cool. track up to 50 miles. Wow. Favored prey. Choose a type of enemy, human, humanoid alien, animal, or alien creature. You gain +1 die to rolls to pursue, outwit, or capture this enemy type. That's very classic D&D. I wonder why you would expect this to say you could choose it again and choose another type. I might allow that if a player asked. What is that? After any encounter with aliens in which material is left behind, you can always locate an item. This is a mechanical thing. So basically, it's kind of like having a Pokemon with the pickup ability. You're just picking up free stuff everywhere. Wolfkin. Once per region during the travel phase, you can locate a pack of wolves in the region who see you as a cousin. From them, you can ask 2 questions about the area and gain accurate answers, at least accurate to wolves. That's so cool. Oh, man. That's fun. That's really fun. I guess wolves are probably doing good in the super winter. That's interesting art with crazy stuff going on. Let me try and show that off. There's an alien floating in the air, stuff flying all over the place, including entire cars. And they are like trying to get by. Crazy. All right, moving on. All right, the engine. You can't expect to understand their technology logically. You have to do it by feel by musicality. Mechanics. The stuff on the Traveler imprints, the dice rolls, etc. exist to contribute to a meaningful and enjoyable story. This chapter explains how this game's core mechanics work and how they can serve the adventure at your table. Conversation. Like in other role-playing games, play in the Last Caravan emerges from a conversation between the game master and the other players. So this is very common. Powered by the Apocalypse and all of its many children, including Forged in the Dark, operate. The Atlas says what's going on, playing the part of the world and the people in it. As travelers, you and the other players describe what you're doing. You might speak in character or in third person. You'll ask the Atlas questions about the world, and the Atlas answers according to knowledge the travelers would have. Pretty simple, but good to put out there. Always good examples of this. Good to have examples of this. Dice don't get rolled until there's something at stake, but in this world, you're not going to get far without that happening. So there's your die rolling guidance. Gambits. Whenever a traveler tries to do something with a dangerous or uncertain outcome, you use gambits. There you go. Again, keywords here. Dangerous or uncertain is when dice come out. There are 11 gambits. When Uncle Larry tries to fix a busted engine, you'll go for rig and repair stuff. When Colm points a rifle at a hulking alien monster and pulls the trigger, he'll probably roll take aim. Excuse me. To determine how many dice to roll, check the 4 dots next to that gambit. The number of filled-in dots represent that gambit's strength. When you roll that gambit, that's how many 6-sided dice you roll. Then you look for the highest result. Okay. This is a little different than other Forged games, so we're going to linger on this for a second. On a 6, you get it done. If you roll more than 1 6, things went better than you could have hoped. This is a critical success. So, single 6, get it done. Double 6, critical. That's pretty standard Forged stuff. 4 and 5, you do what you were trying to do, but something goes wrong, a drawback, harm, a consequence. We call this trouble. That's also standard Forged, so maybe this isn't different. I thought there was something different about these. 1, 2, or 3, it's bad. Whatever you were trying to do didn't go your way, and something else is going wrong on top of it. You're in big trouble. So there's trouble, and there's big trouble. Yeah, so there is no position in effect in this game. It's more streamlined in its resolution than that. I think that's maybe what I was recalling that's different. If you don't have any dots filled in, you can still try a gambit, but it probably won't go well. Roll 2 dice and take the lower. Yeah, that's the same. You may also spend heroism to add a die to your own or others' gambits. Heroism is covered later in this chapter. I believe that's before the roll, I would assume, in Gambit Breakdown. So, these all have, guidance on how to use them, when to use them. That's things for when you're at the table. Additional gambits from the other playbooks and combat. Now, Girl by Moonlight does not have any combat rules. I'm assuming Blades has something, but I actually haven't read Blades, believe it or not. But here we do have combat. Combat flows naturally from the core gambit mechanic. In order to attack an enemy, you must use an item with a harm X trait. Expend one of its uses, then choose an appropriate gambit. So I think you can just punch things, but maybe you can't. Roll the dice according to your strength in that gambit. If you succeed, deal that weapon's harm damage. Or harm value. A critical success doubles the damage dealt. If there is trouble, you take it as well. Often, this is harm from the enemy you are attacking. So that goes to this element in Blades in the Dark, Forged in the Dark, where the GM is not rolling dice to attack with the enemies. It's really just, it's all about your success. And if your success is a clean success, or what do we call it here? I think they just call it success, or a critical, then you get your damage off and nothing happens to you. But if you get that 4 or 5 result, you're going to do your damage, but you're also going to take some. And if you get a 1, 2, or 3, you're going to take some damage and not do any. So it depends on what that thing is that you're engaging with. It's likely that during combat or other high-stakes encounters, the travelers are all that stand in the way of an enemy's goal. In this kind of scene, called a hostile encounter, if travelers take 3 gambits in a row without engaging the enemy directly, an enemy automatically does 3 harm to a traveler or fills 4 ticks in a clock. This is cool. I forgot this existed. So you see this in other games too. We see this in Legend of the Mist, where, although that's more like 1-to-1. In Legend of the Mist, the narrator telegraphs a consequence, or a threat, and if you don't do something that directly responds to that threat, then that threat comes to fruition. It comes through. The way that you block it is by addressing it in some other way. Here, it's similar. It's saying, if you're in a hostile encounter and you're faffing around and you go 3 rolls in a row without directly engaging them, then, I mean, they're like war-trained aliens. If you're fighting aliens, it might be humans actually that you're fighting. Could be bandits. Could be weird. A weird new cult has formed up somewhere or something. There's all sorts of stuff in the setting of this book. But it's basically saying, like, if you're in a hostile encounter, you either need to try and escape it. I don't know if there's escape mechanics, but you need to either get out of there or you need to do something about it. If you just sit around, you're going to take harm or fill 4 ticks in a clock. We haven't talked about clocks yet in the context of this game, but I think a lot of my audience knows what those are. Trouble. When gambits fail, there's trouble. Trouble occurs when your highest die rolled is 5 or less and can take a few forms: harm, drawbacks, and clock effects. Whenever trouble happens, the Atlas gets to choose what kind it is. Trouble isn't a punishment. It's a way of keeping the world real for players. It's interesting. A good Atlas uses trouble to ratchet up tension and make scenes more responsive. When big trouble happens, combine different trouble types to create dynamic moments. Trouble works best if it results directly from players' choices or from the enemy's actions. It did call out big trouble here. Big trouble is your 1-to-3 result. So on 1-to-3, combine different trouble types. So you're doing kind of double trouble, I'm afraid. All right, so harm. Enemies, inanimate objects, diseases, and even mental effects can deal harm to travelers. Harm always has a numerical value from 1 to 4 and fills that many spaces on the harm track of your character sheet. Armor may reduce harm by its value. And we also have clock effect. Clocks are progress trackers that, when filled, activate narrative events. Some clocks, such as aliens destroy the radio tower, are no good. When trouble happens, the Atlas can add or remove ticks from clocks. Regular trouble might mean 1 or 2 ticks. Big trouble could be more. Drawback. Drawbacks are flexible and narrative specific. The Atlas introduces an immediate problem that results from what's happening in the story. There's a lot of freedom here. Trigger vehicle cons, item traits, and character inadequacies freely when choosing drawbacks. So this is cool. We haven't seen this yet, but your vehicles have a list of like things that are wrong with them. Like this one doesn't have a windshield. This one, like, it has a bad starter, so it doesn't always start. So a drawback consequence could come up, and they're like, hey, guess what? The car won't start. And like now something else is going to happen to you. So that's what that's about. Trouble examples. Very good for you to study if you get the game and read it. Search and survey. Oh yeah, there's examples. This is great. Oh, this is actually really great. This is trouble examples for rig and repair gambits alone, and it says here's what harm might look like, here's what a drawback might look like, here's what a clock effect might look like for that one skill, just to build up a lexicon of examples. It's probably the wrong word, but we're going to go with it. Heroism. During your journey, travelers will become capable of things they never thought possible. Mechanically, we represent this with heroism, either marked on your character sheet or held as physical tokens. You gain it through roleplay and spend it for mechanical benefits. Okay, we already know how to gain it. There's playbook triggers that you can do, and then also if you aid a faction or make things worse because of your inadequacy. Heroism is valuable, so trying to activate the triggers frequently is good for you and good for the story. As a traveler, you decide when you've fulfilled one of your triggers. Okay, important. This is not to be audited or judged by the Atlas or the players, but also, like, I think, what's the phrase? Don't be a weasel. Isn't that a John Harper thing? He's just like, yes, you could game this and just totally do whatever you want. Say, well, the rules say that I'm the one that gets to decide. Don't be that person. Just simply don't do it. All right. When you do mark it or take a when you do mark it or take a token, at first you might state aloud, "I'm fulfilling this heroism trigger." But as your group comes to know one another, you might use a shorthand. It should be clear that you're activating a trigger, but it doesn't need to interrupt roleplay at the table. So if you had tokens in the middle of the table, you could just be like, "Oh, my good boy, whose name is Dominic. Dominic comes up and jumps into your lap while you're like crying because of what just happened," and then you just take the token from the table, and everybody goes like, "Yeah," because you're cuddling with a human. Got it. All right. Heroism maxes out at 5 and can't be saved or exchanged. Heroism should flow freely through the game, but if it feels shallow, repetitive, or disingenuous, feel free to discuss as a group and recalibrate how you define triggers. Wow, that's a great sentence. That's a great way to call that out and say, like, just because we've been giving heroism for this thing before, it kind of feels like we're just going to the well too many times. We're just seeing the same thing play out over and over again. So maybe that shouldn't count as a trigger. Maybe we need to see more of that from this character or whatever. Great that it encourages the table to revisit that as you play. Spending heroism. Find a useful item. Name an item you're looking for or what you need an item to do. The Atlas decides what item you find and any stats or tags the item has. You won't always find exactly what you want, but always find something. And something useful. It's a key word there. Or gain +1 die to any gambit roll. This is probably how you'll spend most of your heroism. Extra dice can be applied to other travelers' rolls as well as your own, so this is your aid mechanic as well, which is really clean. There is no limit to how many dice you can use on a single roll. Now, if you're doing this as an aid, I would insist that it has to be narratively possible, or I might not, actually, come to think of it. Because the way that links work in Girl by Moonlight, like, there are abilities of the link that you can invoke just by like the memory of the relationship you have with that character. So I don't know if I would extend that to heroism or if I'd say, no, you narratively have to be in a place to actually help them if you want to use your heroism for them. Increase harm on a gambit roll. Limit 2 per gambit. After a successful attack. Important. Deal an additional harm. You can only do this twice per gambit roll. Okay. So you do the damage, and then you can increase it by an additional harm, increase it by an additional harm. That's 2 uses for that 1 roll. I see what it's saying. You can't use this on a target who took harm from another source. So it's got to be your own attack. All right. Clocks. We're going to skip clocks because, they're a widely used game mechanic these days. Basically, you're going to set a narrative thing will happen if this fills, and I have different ways to fill it, as we saw before with drawbacks. Or what is it called? Clock moves or whatever they're called. And so you're advancing a narrative truth or reducing a narrative truth from coming to fruition. Clocks can go positive or negative and whatever. And so you're just quickly sketching out something that has 4 segments, 6 segments, 8 segments, and it's giving the players a sense, like a something to have tactilely almost, to know where things are in the story and what they have agency over to make or not make happen. So that's clocks. And they're great and they're fun. Harm, recovery, and turning points is a dangerous world out there. Your travelers will get hurt. Health is represented by the harm track. When you take harm, mark spaces starting from the left and moving to the right. If you ever fill the last slot on your harm track, your traveler is dead. End of story. Which is why when you go to a new region, the advance that you can take, one of them is to completely clear your harm track. So if you're on the worsening side, that's what it is. If you're on the worsening side, take a harm every upkeep phase. So your harm track has 8 dots. And if you have 4, you're fine. But if you have 5, then every time there's an upkeep phase, which is part of the cyclical nature of going through these regions, you're going to go to 6, and then you're going to go to 7. So basically it's like things are going bad, and this character is going to die if we don't do something about it. You can't just ignore them being in a worsening state. You have to actively do something about it. So that's pretty wild. You can remove harm in 3 ways: healing items, recover actions during the travel phase, or some imprint special abilities. Actually, there's a 4th way, isn't there? Because using advance when you transition a region is the 4th one. When you cross the middle line between stable and worsening, you'll face a turning point narratively. This means that your character is faced with a personal crisis Mechanically, you roll a d6. This is not a gambit roll. You cannot add a die to it or modify it by any means. What does it do? I don't remember. If you roll a 6, your traveler becomes undaunted. Roleplay how they rise to the challenge. For the rest of the current phase, you gain +1 die to all of your rolls. 1 in 6 chance. So you cross this line, you got a 16% chance of just going full-on berserk mode, where you're like using it to fuel you, and you're just like, let's go. If you do not roll a 6, you shatter, and your inadequacy takes over. So this is almost like Eclipse from Girl by Moonlight, where you've identified your inadequacy early on in the game. There are 5 to choose from, and I'm sure you can make custom ones. And basically, you're going to be playing into your inadequacy, because as you're losing hold of your life force, basically, and you're like worsening, you're going back to like your worst instincts. For the rest of the phase, your traveler is consumed by their inadequacy and acts following its impulses. The traveler continues to roleplay, but cannot make gambit rolls unless they make sense with the inadequacy. Oh, wow. I did not realize that. So they have to be able to do it in the context of having that inadequacy take over for them. Otherwise, they're just locked out of these activities. So this is great. This is conveying theme through mechanics. What it's saying is like, I forgot what I was going to say, but you're worsening, you're falling apart, you're not your best self, and what it's saying is that you need your family or your found family or your veteran buddies or your science buddies, whichever kin you've chosen. You need them to pull you out of it. So again, these games, Girl by Moonlight, The Last Caravan, I'm sure there are many others that really are reinforcing this, like, we're in this together and I need you. And that's, needing people is vulnerability. That's what that is. So I love games that put you in that place to roleplay that stuff out. I just think it's whatever. I think it's powerful. I think it's interesting. I appreciate it greatly. Difficulty. If it feels dissonant to resolve hacking a nuclear silo's security in one gambit roll, the Atlas can introduce clocks to differentiate scope in non-combat challenges. That makes sense. A tough task can be a 3 or 4 part clock, while an extremely intricate one could require 6 or 8 ticks. Clocks can represent time required with just one traveler working toward completing it, or a large amount of effort with multiple travelers working simultaneously. For combat difficulty, the Atlas can use mechanics like enemy health, armor, and weapon harm levels. Tougher enemies can have more health, damage-resistant armor, or brutal weapons. Okay, let's back up for a second. When you introduce a clock to convey the difficulty of something being accomplished, you need to not do it in such a way where you say, okay, make that gambit roll, but do it 3 times. Because what we're doing is we're ramping up the chance that you're going to get negative consequences, trouble, or big trouble from all these failed rolls. So do 1, 2, 3. Don't do that. Don't do that, in my opinion. If you're going to use that to introduce difficulty, we're trying to hack into a nuclear silo security, I would say you can make a check, and you're going to make some progress. And then there's going to be some intervening time. Maybe in the case of this, maybe it's an hour goes by, and things happen within that hour before you can try to make the check again. And then another hour goes by. Because when the hour goes by, you're giving the group the chance to respond to the progress itself and decide, are they going to keep trying, or are they going to abandon this location? Are things coming in from the outside? Whatever it might be. Another way to do this would be for something extremely difficult. You're going to make a check to try and progress a clock. And you get to do that once per day because it's extremely difficult. And so things are happening in between, and you give space and breath to allow anticipation to build for the next roll and for the prior roll to actually matter. Otherwise, you run the risk of the classic like skill challenge problem. Like, oh, this is really hard, so you're going to have to roll 2 stealth checks. Ooh. And it's like, oh, okay, like, all right, I'll roll it twice. Like, what's, this is a common design challenge with just games across a lot of scopes. So I would encourage you, if you're using a clock to convey difficulty or time passing, let the time pass and actually fill in the space in between. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like I made a roll, there was a consequence, I made another roll, there was no consequence, and I made a third roll, and there was another little consequence. It's just going to feel flat. It's just not going to come off well. Anyway, here's a graphic of the play cycle, which we haven't gotten to in text yet, so maybe we should wait, but no, let's not. So, travel phase. Let's say we start here. You get 3 travel actions between these: lie low, recover, resupply, work on a slow project, work on a vehicle. This is your downtime phase, more or less, if you want to rip it from Blades. And you earn heroism. By default, or what does it mean by that? Anyway, we'll figure it out. And then the travel phase goes into the detour phase, which is actually where the main action of the game happens. It sounds like it wouldn't be because it's called a detour. But the main push of the game is to get to the West Coast, right? So everything else is by definition a detour, and the detour is when shit goes wrong, and that's when you're going to be rolling dice. So choose detour unless determined by toll, have encounters, take action, experience trouble, act in real time, earn heroism, and move on to the upkeep phase. Add noise, which is something we'll get to. Determine tolls, spend fuel, consume supply, worsen if you need to. And then you're back to the travel phase again. So there are going to be, I believe, a couple cycles of this per region. Yeah. I'm remembering now. The regions have, let me see if I can find it. The regions have like escape clauses. Don't they? Yeah, okay, it's called way out. So each different region you're in has a different way out. Let's go back to the one we already kind of gave you some spoilers from. Hold on. Ash Ridge. So the way out here is just take 2 detours. So basically it's saying you're going to have 2 cycles of what's on the screen now before you can leave Ash Ridge and move on to whatever is adjacent to it that you might want to move to. Which again, I should bookmark the map instead of the GM spoiler section because I keep losing it. Map, where are you? Is that you? There you are. All right, bookmark. Ribbon bookmark comes with the book, not the special edition, the regular edition. And it's literally on the page before where I was reading. Whatever. And then here in Ash Ridge as well, it says noise increase, and it has a dash through it. So we'll talk about noise in a little bit. Noise is an abstract for how much attention your caravan is drawing to itself, both from aliens or humans that you don't want attention from. So that's the concept there. It's like heat in Blades. So are we there yet? This is interesting. In good weather conditions in the early 21st century, a pair of drivers could travel from Bar Harbor, Maine to San Francisco, California in about 55 hours, taking shifts to sleep and stopping a handful of times for gas. They would accomplish this incredible feat because of the interstate highway system, which is supported by agencies that protect the roads from damage, businesses that provide fuel and food, and social and legal norms for road behavior. In The Last Caravan, your journey will take you much longer. Destroyed cities, infrastructure, and highways make many essential thoroughways impassable. GPS satellites were ripped from the sky, and the United States government collapsed. With no transit authorities left, highways have become slick with ice. Without businesses, they have become desolate, and without laws, they have become dangerous. The resulting journey could take caravans between 2 weeks and 2 months. Gameplay loop. The Last Caravan's gameplay rotates through the travel phase, the detour phase, and the upkeep phase. During the travel phase, you're on the road. You'll take actions to scout, supply, recover, talk, tinker, make decisions, and sleep. This phase is more freeform and a great time for developing relationships with other characters. During travel, trouble comes to the caravan in the form of tolls. During the detour phase, you stop to explore, parley, confront other factions, and navigate obstacles. This is where the action happens. After each detour phase comes the upkeep phase, a bit of bookkeeping that keeps narrative wheels turning. A normal session of The Last Caravan consists of 1 to 3 detour phases, each preceded by travel and followed by upkeep. So you're supposed to do 1 to 3 of these every session. That's a lot. That's a lot for me, but I guess, they might be smaller in nature than I'm thinking. Detour phase. The caravan stops at a location. There, the travelers engage in an encounter. We've seen this word a lot already. A moment-to-moment sequence with strong intention or conflict, usually at one location with one main question. What's in the crashed ship? Will you save the prisoners? An easy test of whether you've entered an encounter is if a player makes a gambit roll to overcome danger. Most detour phases are made up of one encounter, but more elaborate conflict might involve 2 or more connected encounters. So the encounter is within the subset of the detour phase itself. So that checks out. These are like, I don't know if I want to call these like little modules. They're like mini modules that might have multiple conflicts within them. Oops, I just clicked something I don't mean to click. Definitely don't want to ask the AI assistant. No thanks. During detours, you'll search abandoned homesteads and downed alien vessels, visit towns, parley with factions, and fight hostiles. When travelers finish with the detour, they return to the road. Here's your upkeep phase. Do this after you leave a detour. So this is not when you leave a region. This is not the way out yet. This is just the detour, of which you will have multiple. You need at least 2 to leave Ash Ridge if that's where you start. During the upkeep phase, the Atlas and players update the status of their journey mechanically. Go through these steps in order. Add to the caravan's noise. Noise follows your caravan through a region. Use the noise track on your vehicle sheet to measure how much attention the caravan is drawing to itself. At 1 noise, the caravan draws no undue attention. At 5 noise, the caravan gets the attention of factions and hostiles from the entire region. During upkeep, the Atlas evaluates the detour and adds up to 3 noise to the noise track. If the caravan had no effect on the place they visited, they add 0 noise. If the caravan had a minor effect on the place they visited and or made contact with a faction, they add 1 noise. If they had an effect on the place they visited and or drew the attention of a major faction, so there are different, scales of factions here, then they'll add 2 noise. If the caravan had a major effect here we go. I missed this too. 1 is for minor effect or made contact. 2 is for normal effect or drew attention of, and 3 is for major effect and or angered a major faction. So you can see how that would add noise. Noise is also bumped up by the region's noise increase, usually 0 to 2. Players can remove noise from the track by taking the lie low action during the travel phase. If the caravan leaves a region by finding its way out, the noise track drops to 0. So it does not carry across, which means... does the noise increase happen when you enter? Oh, or is it added? I'll need to confirm this. I'll go in their Discord to confirm this. Is that added to every single time you do an upkeep? So, for example, area Y has a noise increase of 1. Does that mean every time you evaluate this, you add 1 to it? Or is it just a flat 1? I don't know. I'll find out. Find out later. I'll share the answer in the Discord. Speaking of which, if you are not a member of the London Station Discord, it's a great place. There's a lot of cool people, and we talk about a lot of good stuff. So it is pretty inexpensive to join. My $1 tier is broken. It's supposed to only give you access to one thing, but it gives access to everything the $3 tier does. So I've decided not to fix it. So there's your budget option if you want it. Noise is also bumped up. We read that. Determine tolls. Based on the noise track, the Atlas determines tolls. Tolls are narrative trouble that can arrive at any point during the travel phase, or the Atlas might save up for future trouble. Chapter 9 has a table for tolls. That's going to be into the GM stuff. So step number 3, spend fuel in advance. Spend fuel equal to the total fuel burn of all vehicles in your caravan. So there is a fuel efficiency stat as well. If you're driving like a clunky old minivan, it's going to be worse on fuel than a sports car. If you have completed that region's way out, a narrative requirement unique to each, the travelers may advance by choosing a new region to enter and each gaining 1 of these benefits. Add a dot to a gambit, gain a special ability, clear your harm track. The Atlas can find the way out of each region in Chapter 8. That's what I just looked up. And consume supply. You have to eat. Consume 1 supply. This covers all travelers. Consume an additional supply for every 2 passengers in your caravan. These passengers are NPCs, not players. Players are called travelers. Passengers are NPCs. So 1 supply for the whole group and 1 more for every 2 passengers. If you are like evacuating a orphanage, then you're going to have to go through a lot of supply. If you don't have enough supply for the whole caravan, the entire caravan takes 1 harm for each consecutive upkeep phase you haven't had enough supply. Does that escalate? Are you guys reading that escalates? I think I am. So the first time you don't have enough supply, you take 1 harm. The second time you take 2 harm. Or I guess you could read it as 1 harm for each time. Consecutive is throwing me off here. I need to actually write these down because I want to actually get these answers. I said casually I'd check in the Discord, but I will probably forget. So hold on. So what did I want to ask before? I forgot already. Anyway, let's do consume supply. And what was the other thing? Oh, it was this. The noise increase. All right, back to it. Each traveler who has filled the harm track over to the worsening side takes 1 harm. When this is complete, continue back to the travel phase, which is your downtime, kind of. And you're going to have your actions you can take for that. Note for the Atlas, although there is no official step for rumors or world updates during the upkeep phase, this might be a good time to give travelers a sense of what lies before them. If you have a map, you might put down some markers of things that they've heard about and places they could go. The sense you give of the world and their travel can shape the travel phase and what comes after. Very cool advice. Travel phase. If detours are the Last Caravan's islands, separate, singular events, usually brief, the travel phase is the sea in which the game floats. This is really evocative, descriptive language. I appreciate that. Your travelers camp out under the stars and the orbiting wreck of the aliens' mothership. I think they nuked it. I don't recall. They bond and bicker. These moments are scenes. So scenes are to the travel phase as encounters are to the detour phase. Usually during the travel phase, the Atlas asks simple, open-ended questions like, what do you guys do while on the road? Who's driving? Often, these can serve as an encouragement to start scenes and roleplay. Feel free to jump in and say, oh, I want to do a scene where I start playing guitar in the backseat, or I wanted to talk to Sylvia about that fight we had with that alien bug. Then you and the character playing Sylvia have that conversation. When it's starting to feel like you've said what you need to say, you can move on to another one or just say, great, I think that's all I wanted to say. Once your group is comfortable with each other, you'll probably find a rhythm where you can shift in and out of scenes without even saying you're doing one. You'll love it. You'll love to see it. Gambits might happen during scenes. If you end up having a complicated encounter in which multiple travelers are making gambit rolls, this might start to count as a detour. Interesting. So you can roll dice. You can roll dice in scenes in the travel phase, and you can use those kind of as an oracle, and you can kind of use those to invoke, well, I'm going to try and do this with your character, but I'm going to see, like, if I put my foot in my mouth before I even do the scene. You can roll to see the result and then play into the result if you wanted to. You could disclaim your disposition to those dice in those moments. In addition to the montage relaxation of the travel phase, there are important choices to make the travel actions. Note for travelers. Heroism triggers are your way to get a useful in-game currency, and the travel phase is full of chances to activate your triggers. Mark your character sheet or take a heroism token when you activate a trigger. During each travel phase, the caravan must take 3 travel actions total, not per player. When travelers are injured or supplies are running low, having only 3 actions can feel limiting. The caravan can do an additional travel action by spending 1 supply or 1 fuel. Sounds like a one-off thing. So you can only do 1 additional for a total of 4, but you have to spend a supply or a fuel. Useful to do, I think, if you have them. In addition, each passenger grants +1 dice to a single gambit roll made during the travel phase. Each passenger grants 1 die to a single gambit roll made during the travel phase. Passenger. Okay, sorry. Okay, I was confused. So they can, like, your NPC passengers can help. Before you roll, describe which passenger is helping and how, then roll a separate d6 and include it in your gambit result. If the passenger die rolls a 1, they are harmed, lost, or exhausted. I don't know why that makes me laugh, but I find that funny. Here's the list of travel actions. Lie low, recover, resupply, work on a slow project, work on a vehicle. Lie low. Up to 2 travelers roll an appropriate gambit to be more stealthy on the road or cover up their tracks. Remove 1 noise for each traveler who rolled at least 1 6. So the party gets 3 actions total. The party might say, let's do lie low. Okay, now let's have 1 or 2 characters actually roll a gambit to see how this goes. And then you have to have a 6 for each of those. So you could remove 1 noise or 2 by doing this. So it doesn't say to play this up like a gambit, but I probably would, because why would you not? I mean, that's what we're here for. It says gambit right here. Never mind. I'm wrong. It is a gambit. Recover. Choose 1 member of the caravan. They heal 2 harm. Simple. So if you have somebody in a worsening state and 2 would get them back to stable, like, do this. Definitely do this. Resupply up to 3 travelers. Roll an appropriate gambit to obtain what you need in this region. For each 6 the travelers roll. For each 6. So unlike Lilo, for each 6 they gain 1 supply or 1 fuel. So you have 3 people rolling, and everybody starts with at least one. Well, not everybody. You're going to probably have, on average, each player with 2 dots in something. So you're going to roll a couple 2d6 across 3 people. And I used to be really good at this Forged in the Dark math. 1 in 16, 1 in 16. Well, you've got 6 dice across you. So ultimately, you could consider the average to be, you're going to gain 1 supply or 1 fuel. If you're all rolling 2d6, if you're doing more than that, good for you. Especially if you use one of these passengers' extra dice for the resupply. That could help as well. Work on a slow project. The travelers propose a project. The Atlas decides if a clock is necessary, and if so, decides how many ticks it requires. When travelers choose to work on a slow project, up to 2 travelers may make a gambit rolls to work on it. If both travelers who rolled fail, put 1 tick in the clock. Even failure is a learning experience. That's nice. I appreciate that. During future travel phases, players can return to the same project until it's finished. Well, wait. How many do you get if... Oh, wait, what? Huh? What? I missed something. Let's read the example. Ty, a stargazer, and Mina, a wrench, want to study an alien drone they've disabled. The stargazer rolls 2 science. The wrench rolls rig and repair. I mean, I know how I would adjudicate this for a long-term project in Girl by Moonlight, but that's a single player. I feel like I'm missing something here. I'm going to put it on the question list. I will find out. Because it doesn't say I'm looking for 6s here. So I guess the implication is that 4s, 5s, and 6s I would count as a success, and each character that got it, I would give 1 tick. But that, I don't know. Then failing is no different than one character succeeding and another character failing. Which seems weird. I'll figure it out later. Okay, work on a vehicle. When you begin working on a vehicle, choose its modification clock or repair clock. A traveler expends any necessary components as decided by the Atlas that rolls rig and repair to advance the clock. When the repair clock is filled, empty it and remove 1 tick from the vehicle's wear clock. Okay. So that's harm clocks, basically, to the vehicle. When the modification clock is filled, follow the rules on page 70 to add a vehicle modification. Usually the modification you add is chosen before the roll. It occurred to me that I did skip the description of clocks, because I was like, yeah, we know how those work. But it might have, in this case, told us what we need to know. So I'm going to quickly scan this. Yeah, okay. Players use clocks to move toward their goals, whether it be escaping a sudden threat, building rapport with a faction, or grinding away at a slow project. When 1 or more players roll a gambit to advance a clock, a result of 4 to 5 adds 1, 6 adds 2, critical success adds 3. That was what I was missing. So, that's our answer. Now, how close are we getting here to the... We're getting very close. I think we're going to finish this whole chapter, and then we'll probably call the stream there. So we got about 20 pages to go, but there's quite a bit of tables on there, so it'll go quick, I think. Tolls. Tolls are unique events, unexpected or negative, that occur during the travel phase. These might include adverse weather conditions, contact with local factions, pursuits, or forced detours. The Atlas has complete control. The intensity of tolls depends on the caravan's noise track. Tolls could follow this general scale. Okay, so based on your noise, here's a kind of quick scan of the severity of them. So that's a good reference tool. I would probably print that out, have it at the table, or have it screenshot somewhere. The Atlas chooses when tolls happen. In fact, the Atlas may decide not to trigger a toll during a travel phase at all, instead letting noise accumulate. Does that imply that tolls make noise not accumulate? Did I miss something? I don't know. Something else to figure out. Or I probably already read it and my brain's just not working. Choosing a detour. Eventually you'll feel ready for your next detour. How do you find detours? You might have a map. Characters in the world might tell you about landmarks or places of significance. You might be asked for favors. Your own stories might lead you somewhere. If you're uncertain, ask the Atlas about some destinations in the area. The Atlas can find ideas for detours in the region descriptions. Your journey in the Last Caravan is divided into regions. Regions represent a chunk of the continent with its own identity, factions, and miniature narrative. Regions each have a way out. When this goal is complete, You may leave the region during the next upkeep phase. You may take additional detours in the same region once the way out is complete, but add 2 noise for every extra detour. So you're encouraged not to linger. You don't get too sucked into the side plot and make sure you're still heading to the West Coast. In general, each region should take 1 or 2 sessions to pass through with up to 6 detours. Yeah, so it said, 2 to 3 detours per session, 1 to 2 sessions for a region. So yeah, some amount of 6 detours to get through regions. This journey has an endpoint. There may be a massive showdown between the powers of the aliens and humans. There may be a final wild chase across hostile territory. The game may simply end with an epilogue and a roll credits sequence. You and the Atlas will work together to guide this game to a meaningful and satisfying conclusion. And there we go. 1 more chapter down. 1 more to go, I think. Cars, passengers, and stuff. Get in, but hey, wipe your boots off first. Vehicles in the Last Caravan aren't flashy, brand new, or ideal for the job. If you're driving a civilian car, it's probably an older model with chipped paint, doors that don't lock, or an irritable engine that doesn't always start. Even if you get your hands on a military van or an alien vehicle, it's likely seriously damaged from battle before you obtained it. In addition to your character sheet, you'll have a vehicle sheet where you can track the type of car, its storage, its wear, as well as pros, cons, and modifications. Let's see. In addition to your character sheet, you'll have a vehicle sheet where you can track the type of car, its storage, its wear, as well as pros, cons, and modifications. Just read that. To suit this mechanically, all vehicles have at least 1 con and usually a pro or 2. Starting vehicles have 3 cons. There are 5 vehicle frames you'll find during your journey. Compact car, people mover, truck, off-roader, or military vehicle. They each have different stats for how much fuel they use, which we saw earlier. The wear that they can take, this is their hit points. Storage, so your characters only have so much in their little backpack, but you can additionally store things in the vehicle. And how many seats. Boy, compact car with 5 seats, that's a fun time. That's a fun time for 5 people. All right. Cool. Each vehicle frame type has a set amount of seats and storage. Seats to find how many passengers. Storage represents additional inventory. And they do not come with you on detours. Okay. Wear indicates the vehicle's current state. Each vehicle has a wear clock with a number of ticks corresponding to its frame. At 0 ticks, it is in as good shape as possible. If the wear clock gets completely filled, the car is irreparably destroyed. Sad. Vehicle frames have a fuel burn number listed. During the upkeep, you spend fuel equal to the total fuel burn. If you don't have enough fuel, you'll need to leave a vehicle behind or stop progress until you can resupply. Inspecting a vehicle. On occasion, you'll find a vehicle you can access and use. Maybe it's abandoned in a parking lot or a gift from some grateful homesteaders. The Atlas decides its current wear and either informs you of its appearance or asks a player to describe it. If you wish to take the vehicle, inspect it to determine pros and cons. So this is like a little mechanical, kick the tires and generate this vehicle on the spot. That's kind of cool. When you inspect a vehicle, ask the following questions as explained below. Anything good? Anything busted? Then determine the pros and cons as described. Anything good? Roll a 6. Roll a d6. On a 6, this vehicle has 2 pros. On a 4 to 5, it has a pro. Otherwise, it has none. So it's kind of like mirroring that gambit roll to randomly generate if this car is a piece of crap or not. Anything busted? Roll a d6. On a 6, it has 1 con. On a 2 to 5, it has 2 cons. On a 1, it has 3. So that kind of broke the dice there, the dice paradigm. For some reason. I'm sure there's good reason for it. Determine pros. Roll 1d6 for each pro you determined. Check the pro table. Re-roll for duplicates. So there's a table. This is randomly generated. And same thing with cons. On a 1 to 3, move to the major issues table and roll 1d6. On a 4 to 6, move to the minor issues table and roll 1d6. So you could get 3 cons. And they could all be minor. Or you could get 3 and they could all be major. That's fun. Vehicle names. Vehicles are not required to have names. Often they'll emerge organically. If you do decide to name a vehicle, there are a few options on page 69 to help spark your imagination. For the purposes of tracking numbers, clothing, fuel, and supply do not count towards the vehicle storage. Okay. Vehicle storage in the game refers to the space left over for other things. Good to know. So here's some of your... Okay, we'll skim these. Major issues, bad brakes. Sometimes you need to stop, but you don't stop. Overheating. At increased speeds, the car may overheat and potentially damage itself. So these are what the Atlas is going to be invoking when you get trouble rolls and they want to impose a narrative like hit. They can consult the issues that your car has and be like, well, this is a terrible time for you to break down. Too bad. Minor issues, broken headlights, can't drive at night, damaged radio doesn't function, can't use it to listen to signals or play music with it. Rude. And then there's pros. Automatic doors. Ooh. Great CDs. Oh, look at this. Every upkeep phase, one traveler may choose a song to listen to. They gain 1 heroism. This perk can only happen once per upkeep phase and can't move to another vehicle. Can't move the CD wallet between vehicles. Sorry. That's fun. Vehicle names. Seabiscuit. Shadowfax. Madame. The Ditch Witch. Silly fun stuff. Okay, vehicle modifications. Travelers can upgrade their vehicles by taking the work on a vehicle travel action. These actions advance either the modification clock or the repair clock. In most cases, a mod is chosen the first time a traveler works on a vehicle, so you should be working towards a specific thing. When it's filled, the caravan chooses one mod from the below options and applies it. It contradicts itself there, doesn't it? Whatever. Think of modifications like imprint special abilities, but for a vehicle. Okay, so you can add a new pro. You can remove a con. Built-in camper. Vehicle is expanded and contains a living and sleeping area, maybe even a kitchen. Every upkeep phase, either heal 1 harm from or give 1 heroism to a member of the caravan. That would be really nice. CV ham radio. Receive longer-range signals and transmit your own. Add a radio update during each travel phase. Oh, cool. The Atlas gives information and the players may send radio messages. That's really neat and like diegetic. That's cool. It's a way to mechanically like have the GM, the Atlas, like deliver lore stuff to you. Lift kit. You can now drive on most off-road terrain without penalties. That's nice. Mounted machine gun. Well, you know, sometimes you need it. You understand what this does. Great rules text. You know what this does. Traveler can use this twice per phase to make a 3 dice take aim gambit from the vehicle. There's range bands and stuff too. But I don't even know if we're going to get into that. If that's in the GM section. OEM rack. You can attach bicycles, additional storage. Increases storage by 6. Soft top. Caravan's possessions and members are difficult for NPCs to assess or inspect. Oh, covering the trunk. Yeah. Okay. Tire chains. Roll cage. The winch. Yeah, cool. You are not the only ones trying to travel west. As you journey, you'll find passengers, folks who need transportation. Some might want to follow your lead, and others might have specific goals. Passengers might offer payment in rare items or fuel for a seat in your car. Passengers all have their own qualities, 1 pro and 1 con, decided by the Atlas. Some also have a skill set or unique inventory items. Oh boy. Inventory. So we've got 7 slots for the characters. Good boy has 3. Clothes, fuel, and supply are not counted. Oh, you have to have clothing. Wow. Wait, clothing does not take up inventory space, but as part of trouble, clothing can be damaged, destroyed, or lost. Characters who are not fully equipped with clothing may suffer harm from the winter elements. Yeah, because it is kind of a not quite nuclear winter, but kind of. Items always have a size value. Yeah. Size is the first number after the name of an item. The second is its uses, or the number of encounters in which travelers can use the item before it's expended. Oh, that's good to know. Okay, so uses are not done by like each time I fire this gun. It's how many encounters do I use the gun in. It's a way of saying like, come on, like you're not going to have this throughout the entire story. It's going to wear out or get used up at some point. Can't find the right ammo for the gun, whatever it might be. It's kind of cool, kind of a cool take on the backpack tags from Legend of the Mist as well. And it also makes me wonder, because I've had people in the community be like, the backpack, like it's not really a backpack, it's a metaphorical space for story tags, and I wish it weren't called the backpack, but it's like they tried to theme everything. So but I wonder if maybe you could say like, hey, this has X uses to it, and that might alleviate some of that angst. But neither here nor there. Flashlight, for example, is listed 1/3. Its size is 1, and it's expended after 3 uses. Many items like guns or first aid kits can be restocked or refilled with materials found in similar items. Ammo can be general or specific at the Atlas's discretion and grants uses to a weapon 1-to-1. If an item is too unique to be refilled with a general item, it is marked R for rare and requires unique stock. Items that cannot be refilled have an E for expended next to their uses. This means that they're destroyed after their final use. Items that only show one number, their size, have unlimited uses during the caravan's journey. All right, I can parse that. That makes sense. Tags indicate the nature or origin of items and crafts. Tags marked with an asterisk require a crafting knowledge in order to craft or modify them. These prerequisites exist as special abilities on certain traveler imprints. If your caravan doesn't have these, travelers could try to convince knowledgeable faction NPCs to help. Very cool. Alien, firearm, food, melee, military, programming, structure, or vehicle. Traits. Traits distinguish the features of items, either offering specific mechanical elements explained below, like harm X, slow, or close, near, far, or giving narrative clues as to how items affect mechanics. While attempting to search and survey a dark basement, a player could suggest that their flashlight should give +1d, or a traveler who fails a gambit while shooting a pistol with the jams trait might need a rig and repair gambit to fix it. The Atlas has a final say on these mechanical effects, but feel free to get in a big argument about them. That's what TTRPGs are for. Now, that's tongue-in-cheek, but that was almost a little too much for me. I get that it's tongue-in-cheek, but, like, the risk of people not reading that as tongue-in-cheek for me is too high. I would have redlined that in my edit, personally. Note for the Atlas, The Last Caravan is more about surviving an alien invasion than getting enough to eat. That said, you can implement one or more of the following hardcore options. No, if they suit your group. No, I will not be doing any of that. I don't even think I'm going to read it. No thanks. Not here for the gritty survival, but it's here for you if you want it. If you want it, good for you. Absolutely pick it up, play with it, have a good time. Armor X indicates the amount of harm this item blocks each time the wearer would take harm. That's huge. This trait applies to normal harm from weapons. Certain alien weaponry might ignore armor, of course. One use of armor unlocks this benefit for an entire encounter. You have to use things? I might have missed that. Harm X indicates the amount of harm this item can inflict. With a successful gambit roll, heal X removes X harm, noise X adds X noise. Usually 1 or -1 to the noise track. Don't add noise from an item more than once per phase. That's kind of cool. That reminds me of the scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, where the weapon dealers are like firing the alien weapons in the back, under the bridge or wherever they are. And Toombs is like, I told you not to fire them out in the open. Because, the noise is what attracted Spider-Man to them. Because he saw the flash of light off in the distance, right? That's a perfect example of noise. Shred X indicates the amount of armor this item can destroy per use. Amount of armor? Oh, wow. Yikes. Destroying armor. Huh. Targets X indicates how many enemies can be affected by a single gambit roll. Slow items cannot be used during the detour phase. Slow item. Okay, yeah, that checks out. Close, near, far indicate range. Close is within reach. Near is where you could easily travel in a few moments, and far is what you perceive but can't physically reach. Okay. Close weapons with strike-through text cannot be used at close range, which is an interesting way to do that. Blind, stuns, frightens. Take effect the next time the victim acts. So there's conditions in here as well. It's quite a bit of crunch, actually, to this. After each affected action, roll XD6, where X is the enemy's faction tier. If you roll at least 1/6, they ignore the effect. After each affected action. Okay. I'm a little confused here. If they take effect, so basically the fact that you're going to make this check to see take effect here is throwing me, but I think I understand. Because you're going to see, basically this is your what do you call it? Incapacitation rules from Pathfinder. It's so that like your super high tier faction enemies aren't just like blocked out by these conditions. The higher the faction tier is, the more dice you roll, and if you get a 6, they ignore it for that moment. Got it. Burning Bleeding causes affected enemies to take 1 harm before they begin an action. They may spend an action to end the effect. Enemies with armor still have a chance to resist. Roll XD6, where X is the faction tier. If you roll 1/6, they ignore the effect. So that seems to be specifically tied to if they have armor. If they have armor, they can roll to ignore it, which makes sense, I think. Okay. Pull push items may be used to pull or push an enemy or object with a weight limit of 300 pounds. Okay. Interesting. At character creation, you get 2 items or 3 size. We saw that. The good boy starts with a stick or a toy, by the way. And 1 extra heroism. The Empress lists are suggestions. It's perfectly fine if a bruiser wants tea in their starting inventory or if a stargazer wants a baseball bat. Did they have starting inventory? Did I miss that? I must have. It's not on the playbook. It's not in the sheet. Oh, you know what? Ha. I'm probably about to scroll right into the answer. Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff here. Is there a suggestion? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, here's suggested stuff. That's going to be good for each one. So we're going to look at the Stargazer. N95 medical mask, Geiger counter, measurement tools, specialist field kit, UV lamp, water purifier kit. So it's saying these are just suggestions. You can come back up to the general list of just stuff here, or you can make your own stuff as well. Cooking pot can be a melee weapon. Why not? Jumper cables, lighter, match, pistols, rifle, shovel. It's pretty interesting stuff. Again, I'm not an inventory item person player, so I probably wouldn't go wild with this. In fact, I suspect that there's probably a version of the Last Caravan you could play where you just don't bring any of this stuff into the mix at all, and you resolve all your combats in sort of a loose, powered by the apocalypse way. You just do it that way. So you could probably strip all this out if you wanted. I would try to use it first time I played through, though, for sure, just to get a feel. Wouldn't kill me to use some inventory every now and then. All right. Crafting items. Modifying items is a staple of the post-apocalypse genre. Who doesn't want to attach a flamethrower to their katana and make a fire sword? Characters in The Last Caravan use clocks and slow projects to improve, modify, and shape their inventory through crafting. To craft, you'll need requisite crafting knowledge, any necessary items or materials the Atlas decides, and a new clock to be filled by successful gambit rolls. Depending on its complexity, a craft may require anywhere from 1 to 12 ticks. When the characters make the appropriate gambit rolls, add a tick to the clock for each result of 4 to 5 and 2 ticks for a result of 6, and we also know 3 from a critical. We saw that earlier. Once the clock is filled, the materials and modified items are replaced by 1 or more new items whose qualities reflect the changes made. The Atlas determines the new item's size and uses, tags, and traits based on required materials and the purpose of the finished items. You have now learned the rules of The Last Caravan. Congratulations. We did it, guys. I think this last page, this is probably facing. These are facing pages, I'm sure. Hold on, like that. Oh, cool. Part 2, 2 Months War, has well-marked spoilers for travelers. If you want to go in with no prior knowledge, stop here. So here's some examples of this crafting thing. Dee Dee, a wrench, wants to modify a tactical shotgun to incorporate alien tech. Dee Dee has the requisite military knowledge, crafting knowledge, and their stargazer, Artie, has alien crafting knowledge to offer. The Atlas determines that this requires the shotgun itself, so we have a tactical shotgun, plus 1 piece of alien crafting material. Dee Dee pulled this device from a wrecked ship, an Aeurnian repulsor. Dee Dee rolls their rig and repair with success, creating a new item. Now, this doesn't show that there's a clock, so they must have just said success will do it. And they get a repulsor shotgun. This new weapon doesn't possess every trait from both items, and you'll notice its range has decreased. How effective crafting is and how powerful weapons can become is at the discretion of the Atlas. So it got the close tag, or trait. It kept harm 2. This repulsor actually didn't even do damage before. But it incorporated the push. It incorporated stuns. It lost shred because it's not firing, shrapnel now. And it can target 2. So, yeah, it's neat. Both of these had near range. Now it has close range. And it has also these traits: alien, firearm, military. Cool. It's cool. And there you go. Traveler's warning. These chapters explore the history of the 2 months war, the factions involved, and the current state of the world. If you're not the Atlas and don't want spoilers, it's better if you don't read further. But you might want to read some of this anyway. Maybe you want a little information to help you shape your character's backstory or to help you strategize about character creation. Maybe you bought this book and want to see some of the cool art you paid for. Since no one, including me, listens to TTRPG designers, the first 6 pages of Chapter 5 give a sense of what travelers might know about the 2 months war. You should totally read this. Starting on page 99, that's all aliens, bro. Proceed with caution. Proceed with caution indeed. So there is, a little bit here about what you might know from the setting. Wait, how many pages did it say? I feel like that's more than 6 pages. First 6 pages. Maybe it means the first 6 spreads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that number was meant to be changed. So there's quite a bit here. And I think it's pretty cool. I think I'm out of steam. So if you want that, maybe we'll come back and do that another time. Or maybe you'll pick up the game yourself. I don't know. Like I said, they are doing the pre-orders for their after campaign where they have the expansions, which I know very little about. As you can see, there's plenty of this to explore. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Let's go back over here for a second. Hold on. Let me grab my screen cam. There we go. My sources have gotten so jumbled up with all the different content that I'm making lately that I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, what do I need to make it visible? So you got the core book, Lost Highway, which is the expansion. Westward Bound, the soft cover zine, is for playing more animals. Doesn't have product details here though, because this is just the ordering page. So let me see if I can go back to the old campaign. Can I? Probably, if I know what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. So, this is the cover for Westward Bound. This is that satchel thing I was talking about. If you want to check that out. And it comes with a foldable campaign map, which it would be so cool if you're doing this in person. Oh, they have the first 50 pages of the core book for free. So, I mean, we just went through all 50 of those pages, but if you want to take a look at the playbooks, that would be the way to do it. This looks great. It scratches the Oregon Trail itch with more character interaction. Yeah, it kind of does have some Oregon Trail action to it. A little more involved, I think, than just surviving. But here's Westward Bound. The humans need our help. Now, how does this car work again? Cat, Freak, and Bounder are some of the playbooks you can have. Looks like they don't have inventory at all. A standalone zine that adapts the Last Caravan's core systems into a one-shot and short campaign-friendly game of canine adventures in a post-apocalypse. Play as dogs and explore new, unique region adventures. Face strange new factions. Find your humans and cuddle them. Play as the Alpha. Whether you're a show dog, a service dog, or a natural performer, you're the star of the show, eager to help and ready to lead. Or the Freak. Some dogs discover their bizarre weirdness after they mutate or become hybrid with alien stuff. Some dogs have been weird all along. In your case, it might be both. Or one of many more imprints, the Big Fella, the Snout, the Cat, and more as stretch goals. I don't recall how many they unlocked, but maybe we'll see. Here's the little satchel. All your stuff in there. This was a mock-up, though, so don't take any of this too seriously. Okay, Lost Highway. Now you have Survivor. This is an alien playbook. The Singer. These are the Aeurnians, and I forget what these guys are called. They have 2 names. But they're very cool. Uldak, I think, is what their actual alien name is, and they have a different name, that people don't know their actual name. Yeah, the Survivor. Oh, Ikmak is what they are. I was wrong. Oh, and there's another alien that got unlocked, too. The Verdant, an alien naturalist and wild walker. I wanted to see a picture of that map, though, but I guess it's just a mock-up anyway. So yeah, they unlocked quite a bit of stuff for this. It's a cool game, as you can see. I hope. And like I was saying, you can do pre-orders for it, but $20 for the PDF's not bad. Not bad. Anyway, now we're going to go back over here. Did not sing a song today because I was just rushing. I was just trying to get ready, but we'll do that another time. I got to redo On the Turning Away because I did it in one of my Minecraft streams, and then I was scanning through to find all the timestamps of all the songs I sang, and then I missed it because it's kind of a short one. So I'll redo that sometime. I'll give it its own thing, and I'll try not to cry when I sing it because it's powerful. Powerful song. Any case, thanks everybody for hanging out. If you're watching this later, you should probably know by now what London Station is about if you sat through this whole thing. So we just like to take deep dives and looks at games, consider topics deeply. We have a series called Table Topics, which has got 5 entries now. We've talked about romance in RPGs, violence in RPGs, immersion in RPGs, emergence in RPGs, and lone wolves and wanderers in RPGs. With surely more topics to come on those. Those are really great conversations where people come in and we have very vibrant discussions, usually about definitions of things, because it's hard to communicate when you don't have the same definitions. And I do a little bit of gaming here and there, so it's a good time. We've got a great community, and you can join up with us. All the information's everywhere that people put information, so you can figure your way out around there. Another thing we do, I sing on stream sometimes. Another thing we do is we like to raid out to our friends. We have some great friends who stream on Twitch. Even though we are not there and we can't actually use Twitch's features to raid people, I like to throw a nice little link out to some of my buddies. So if you're so inclined to come along with and just say hi, hello, and then get on with your day, that's fine with me. But I appreciate giving support to our friends because they give it back in kind so often. So with that said, I'm going to throw a link out. Buddy Zachary is playing some Final Fantasy XIV. If that's your jam, I'm going to go hang out over there with them. And with that said, I think that checks all of my boxes. Wednesday night, no idea what we're going to do. Saturday, continuing with Astro Prisma. Next Sunday, no idea. So there's time. There's time for suggestions, thoughts, and commentary. In any case, have a great rest of your Sunday. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you next time on London Station. Bye.